This OneUp podcast is brought to you by the Laptop Experts, makers of the Toshiba Satellite X205, a laptop with enough power to destroy a small planet. Visit www.toshiba.com/expert.
All right, everybody, welcome into the One Up Yours podcast.
Welcome into the podcast?
Yeah, well, I mean,
welcome on top of the podcast.
Welcome to the One Up Yours podcast.
Welcome around the One Up Yours podcast.
Oh, my God.
The podcast is inside you.
An ignominious beginning for the December 7th edition of the One Up Yours podcast, featuring Mr. Garnet Lee, that's me, Shane Bettenhausen, and the man you just heard just a moment ago, formerly the Wheels of Steel master, but this time with a microphone.
I'm allowed to express my opinions today.
I don't know how I feel about Skip being able to talk.
Our positions are reversed. You're sitting on the side of the table that I always used to sit on, and I'm sitting in the number one chair.
You are sitting in the number one chair.
I don't know how I feel.
You are making number one.
It's a lot of pressure.
That was a bad joke.
Of course it was. It was mine.
That was a joke.
It was like a pee-pee joke.
Oh.
Anyway, that's Andrew Pfister, our the One Up Reviews editor. So he's been super busy over the last 3 months.
There've been some games.
Yeah, but the last 2 weeks have been pretty nice.
Well, finally,
vacation time, catching up.
Yeah, but you had so much stuff to do. So, of course, Shane Bettenhausen, executive editor from EGM, he's been busy with a little cover story that you guys should be getting the.
It's out.
The first whiffs, the first wafting breaths of.
Yeah, some of them smell kind of leaky and Brazilian.
Yeah, and then also joining us today, and you know what? It's so funny. I actually had a message today from somebody who said, "You know who you guys should have on the One Up Your show? You should have Sean Elliott." So, since I had already set up Sean Elliott from I almost made you from EGM.
He was for a long time.
He was, right.
Originally from GamePro.
Not originally.
I did post a few reviews. I did run a few reviews in GamePro under the name Fart of War.
Oh, yes.
That was pretty
cool. You were originally from Places Unknown.
From EGM, and now I'm at Games for Windows, the official magazine.
Yeah.
Which is what's your official title there anyway? I was going to say I don't actually know you anymore.
I heard you were
a start editor, which basically is just like features and previews and stories, everything in the front of the book.
That's not what I heard. I heard you were special editor.
What the hell's a special editor?
Special ed.
All right. So anyway, here's the way the show is today. Same format we've been doing over the holidays. Quick two block show. Most of the emphasis, especially during the beginning of the show, is going to be on games. We got lots of stuff we've been playing. We know you want to hear about it. Specifically, wanted to get Sean on because he's been playing PC UT. I've been playing PC.
Dude, I want to hear about
UT.
Sean was playing this cool Civil War game. I want to hear about that one.
I've been playing a lot of games. We can talk about what any of you want.
We got to do Company of Heroes too, because I watched him playing the Company of Heroes expansion yesterday, and I was so jealous.
It's good stuff.
I want a PC to play that game. Anyway, that's that. Second block is news, and there's like a bunch of huge news stories to talk about. Of course, we are definitely going to touch on the situation with Jeff Gerstmann and GameSpot.
I believe that's referred to as Gerstmann Gate.
I'm calling it the Gerstmann affair.
I like that. That's very awesome. And then we'll be talking about Activision and Vivendi getting together. There's a new Grand Theft Auto 4 trailer that came out. There's the VGAs. There's just all kinds of stuff. So we have big topics to hit in the news section. That'll be coming up in the second section after the break. Now it's time for What You Been Playing. Where do we should start?
Sean's been playing everything.
I could start.
All right. Kick it off, dude.
Instead of going for high profile right off the bat, I've been playing 2 low profile games that are almost the same game.
Dude, those
differences.
under the radar titles, sometimes they turn out to be the most exciting ones.
Those 6s and 7s.
Both these are
those 1s and 2s.
One of them is a 4, the other's perhaps a 1 or a 2.
A 1 or a 2?
And these are Soldier Fortune Payback.
Is that Soldier Fortune 3?
I don't know.
But it's not Zipper,
Payback,
right?
Man. No, it's not. Both of the other game is History Channel presents the Battle for the Pacific. Both of these are on Activision's Value line, and they're almost the same game. I mean, they were produced on the same engine, which I'm fairly sure is the Call of Duty 2 engine.
Yeah.
So they look pretty good. They're good-looking games as long as they're not moving, as long as nothing's happening, and. So when I say they're the same, I mean they're the same. The interface is the same. The user interface when you load the game is the same. When you sight down your weapons, rather than actually sighting down your weapons, you're still using your crosshair, but it just kind of moves the position of it. The way that you limp-wristedly throw grenades and they go like 4 feet away from you, those are all the same. But Basically, they're games that you could. I mean, they're the equivalent. And I said this before, but they're the equivalent of if you created a first-person, how to make a first-person shooter for dummy book, and they're exactly what you'd expect to come out from there, and that would be, just exploding barrels everywhere. And if there's a catwalk way up on the side of a mountain, they're going to put one up there. It means you're going to go back and forth so that you're going to maximize. How much time you spend in a given level. So you just make this bit of terrain, and actually, I suspect that they threw in some jungle levels in Soldier of Fortune Payback just because they had the assets from the Pacific game, and that way they could use the exact same assets and create. I mean, when you play them one after another, it really feels like you could just take, dialogue notwithstanding, you could just chop the levels and mix them,
what's so funny,
minus the violence of the one.
What's so funny about it to me is that Soldier of Fortune is this ultra-violence game where you're eviscerating the corpses of your enemies.
I handed the 360 version to Nick to maybe review, and he gave it about 30 minutes, not even that, and handed it back. And I can't do this. I don't have the stomach for this.
Interns don't get to hand you stuff back.
Nick has earned it.
He has discerning taste.
Yeah.
But then this other game,
he's Intern Plus.
The History Channel game is the same thing, but ostensibly as an educational tool. Is it educational?
It's not it's educational on how not to make a game, and that's because everything's wrong with it, right? I mean, when you start off, there's an audio bug. At first, the music plays.
This is the PC version, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The music plays really loud, and in these games, they've always done Medal of Honor. They have these orchestral scores, and it's kind of out of place,
bombastic,
and that's loud no matter what. So there's an independent slider for that volume, and I turned it way down, and I turned the sound effects up, and your guns still sound like you're listening to someone in an indoor shooting range that's 3 blocks down the street when you're shooting your own weapon, right? To the point, the audio's buggy where if you get on an AA gun, planes are supposed to be coming at you, and you can't even tell anything's happening. Once in a while, it sounds like someone's throwing a penny on a baking pan, and that's maybe you hit it.
I mean, Billy, it doesn't surprise me that
wait. Bling.
I'm not surprised to hear that these games aren't very good. I mean, they're on a value label, Activision value, so you kind of expect that. But then what's gross about these games to me is they're coming out for 360 and PS3 as
full price
games. And at Christmas, a lot of people end up, their mom goes and buys them whatever's at the store. They're sold out of Orange Box. You end up with American History, and Christmas is ruined. So, I mean, we always making fun of Nintendo for not having quality control. Microsoft and Sony have quality control. They have product evaluation groups, yet these games are coming out at full price.
They should be labeled. They're the kind of games that should be in the Rite Aid checkout bin, with the movies where it's 3 DVDs for 99 cents. They should be in that.
Wow.
In that bin.
I'm kind of disappointed about Soldier of Fortune. I mean,
wasn't the first one a substantial game despite
it was a real game.
Over-the-top violence?
Soldier of Fortune 1 was a real game, and 2 was kind of a real game.
2 was kind of a real game. 2, the single player, I thought was kind of borked because there was some issues with difficulty and auto-botting. The AI in the game.
Auto-botting?
Yeah.
What about Decepticonery? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the AI in the game had this innate ability to insta-one-shot you from any range. They were
you're all about coining new terms today. You're the English language is your plaything.
Absolutely.
They still have that in the game. It's basically
live word
wall
smithery.
hacking. I think they just play like bots would when you put them in a multiplayer game, and it's the equivalent of playing against human opponents that have a wall hack and an aimbot. So that means they're always accurate and they know where you're at. It's impossible to deceive them.
Which sucked, but as I've said many times before, I actually played a ton of Soldier of Fortune 2 online. It was one of the first games that had the name just flew out of my head. What's the anti-cheat software that is...
Punkbuster?
It was one of the first games that supported Punkbuster, which actually at the time was a big deal because...
Sean, that must be your nemesis, Punkbuster, because you are all about the griefing.
The Punkbuster is anti-cheat, not anti-grief.
Not anti-grief.
Punkbuster catches cheaters, so thank God for it.
Is there a Sean Buster?
Sometimes
has that been developed yet? No.
But
those are called patches.
At the time, it was super easy to do, especially wall hacks. Everybody in every game had wall hacks. You couldn't hardly play an online shooter on PC that you weren't getting shot through walls magically because some jackass on the server was running some sort of server. Or there was the thing I was talking about auto-botting was big back then was the headshot, the auto headshot stuff.
Right.
What is
aimbot?
Yeah, aimbot. Right. That's okay. So not auto-botting, aim-botting. Anyway, Shane's rolling his eyes, dude. It's totally annoying if you're playing online. Exactly.
We'll get to Michael Bay in a little bit.
Anyway, Soldier of Fortune 2 was a great game online. For them to bastardize the name now and make it into a shovelware lineup, I mean, it kind of sucks.
Tell me what you think of this. You said that Nick put the game down right away. And for me, I mean, the game's always been about blowing people's heads off in these just, gory explosions. Yeah. But the thing, and I found myself getting sick and tired of it too after a while, and that's because unlike a gory game like Gears of War, right, it's aliens or something, and it's also, it's a fantasy setting. This is supposed to be real life, and you're going to real places, Afghanistan, various parts of the Middle East. And because of this, it would have made sense if this had come out just after 9/11. What happens when something terrible happens? Right after 9/11, you got Osama bin Laden flash games, tons and tons of them, right? And you basically just mutilate the shit out of Osama bin Laden.
Well, this would have made sense also in the era of, what was that, Fugitive Hunter? Remember Fugitive Hunter?
Fugitive Hunter.
Remember the last boss?
Came from the same, yeah,
Do you remember the song at the end of that game?
I reviewed that game.
I believe
I did a wrap-up on it.
I believe it said, Osama bin Laden, where you been hiding? I'm coming for you on the PS2.
It was good, man.
Yeah, it was good.
It wasn't as good as Speak, the Hungarian rapper.
Was Fugitive Hunter the one where you caught all of the international terrorists and at the end of each mission you had to fist fight them?
The last
boss,
them on
the helicopter.
The last boss is a fist fight against Osama bin Laden.
Was that the deal? And is that the game where you loaded him on the helicopter?
I stayed the hell away from that.
You kick him in the shit in slow motion 3 times, and it was basically a high budget equivalent of a Mutilate Osama flash game.
Right.
But so the thing is with Soldier Fortune Payback is that Payback
it's
is
seven years too late.
Right, and then so you go from the righteous rage and righteous hate almost, and then the righteousness kind of dissipates after 7 years, and you're able to look into it. And okay, I could have understood this back then. I was with this. 5 years later, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. 7 years,
reactionary. 7 years later,
and then you're like, okay, I'm still. Picking the ears off Osama bin Laden and dipping him in vats of acid is the equivalent of that, and then it just was like, I don't know how I feel about this game. It was just barbaric,
It was cool when Zipper earned their stripes on this game, but Zipper's on to SOCOM now. So
SOCOM's crap.
What?
We'll have to wait till Mark McDonald's on, but I think that SOCOM is garbage, and it's always been
for
garbage.
a lot of people, SOCOM is really the only experience they've had with multiplayer online.
And that's why people like it. That's the only reason why people like it.
Well, PS3 owners are about to get exposed to Unreal Tournament, and in the real form, finally. I mean, Unreal Tournament, that's been a PC game for forever, but and with all respect to the various Unreal iterations that attempted to do console, I think this is maybe arguably the first time that the real, and I'm putting that in quotes, Unreal Tournament experience comes to the consoles at the right time. And
have you been playing it?
I've been playing the hell out of it.
I want to get my hands on a copy, and no one believes that. They're like, Shane hates first-person shooters. I don't like most FPSs, but I did play Unreal Tournament.
You like this one because it's on PS3.
No, it's because
No, it's on PS Triple.
It's because one of my roommates out there, Travis, he forced me to play the original UT. I was his roommate back in college, and he made me play it, so I got really into it. And
all right.
Because it's such a twitchy game, it's really fast-paced. It's so fast, and I had fun with it. I wasn't good at it, but
I was about to say, you coming into this thing blind, you're
I'm not good. But I remember I would use the flat cannon and the rocket launcher, and I would get some kills. I'm not good.
Why were you similarly excited about Quake 4 multiplayer when that came out on 360?
No, but my same friend made me play Quake 3. The UT and Quake 3 came out around the same time. So
on Dreamcast?
No, PC. This was my really only experience with FPSs. Those are the two of the only games I've ever really played, actually. So UT is something I understand. I get it. And I do want to try it. I want to try it with mouse and keyboard as well. Have you tried it?
I've not tried it with mouse and keyboard. I'll tell you this. The one thing that, the immediate thing that impressed me was that as much trouble as I've had with shooters on either DualShock 2 or DualShock 3 was that it actually felt pretty good with the controller. They actually did a good job of matching up the controller. I went in and jacked up the response speed to the sticks a little bit.
I think you should try mouse and keyboard, though. See how it works.
It's a different game. It's not just the interface. It's faster on PC.
Yeah,
not that the frame rate's
definitely
faster, but the movement speed of vehicles and people is just faster.
Is there cross-platform play, or is that
There's not cross-platform play. And one of the things actually I clarified with Midway, which is going to make it interesting to see how the server's set up. Midway is going to run dedicated servers for PS3, but I was surprised to learn from them that the dedicated server for PS3 will only run on PS3 hardware. So in other words, you can't run a PC-based server for the PS3 version of the game, which I think detracts somewhat from it because, that's what Frontlines is doing. That's one of the ways they got around doing dedicated servers for Xbox Live.
Who's going to want to? I mean, I guess if you have a good PC, I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I'm kind of figuring this out as I go. But say you've got a PC that's capable of running UT3 as a server, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's one who's going to be altruistic enough to say, "Well, let's just make this computer into a server for some people playing this."
I'm
or
thinking
if you have your own, why would you not be playing it on the PC? Why would you be playing it on the PS3?
Absolutely. I'm thinking about hosting companies, like the places where they offer like rack space.
Oh, okay.
So in order to actually have someone other than the publisher running legitimate online servers in Rackspace at good network hosting centers, it needs to be PC based. It's not like Rackspace has a bunch of PS3s sitting in some server farm.
Do you think Sony would do that? Do they run dedicated servers on anything else?
Sony runs dedicated servers for all their first party games,
right?
But not for the third party.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of the Warhawk.
Yeah.
Right, and Resistance, same thing, right?
Right.
But in order to reach out to the community so that's like a whole weird thing. Like what this is all about.
Are you complaining that they're not letting people run their own servers, but yet Midway is running dedicated servers, and you're complaining?
No. I think it's cool. So Midway says they're going to run something like 50 servers off the bat worldwide. They're going to distribute them to different geographical locations, so that you should be able to get a good low ping. That's cool. Remember, was it last year or the year before that we did that article in GFW about hosting services?
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a big part of what maintains the online community for games in the PC world. Is there's like a whole infrastructure for clan servers, hosted servers, setting up your server, being able to manage your server, and that's something that I think would help if it could come over to the console
it's
side.
Theoretically possible. Then what this would mean
possible.
is that say Shane, you become just seriously enamored with this game,
right?
And I'm going to come back and see, because I guarantee you're not going to be playing this game every night.
You're not
even going to be playing it twice.
I played UT for a solid month back in the day.
Okay,
really,
8 years ago.
But so say you do end up loving it, right? And you and your friends are like,
I might like it.
Let's pay this company to host a server for us. It's what, $20 a month.
Why would we need that?
And here's why. What would happen? They'd give you
quality gameplay.
They'd give you server admin mod privileges, and that would mean if someone comes into your game and you don't like them, you can make it so not just that you mute them for yourself, you can mute them for everyone in the game. You could, with mods, on the PC side of things, you could turn them into a chicken, put them in a cage. You could just kick them from the game. You could change them out immediately when you want. I guess you could do these things in there, but it's like instead of voting and stuff, the admins for the server could have a greater degree of control. You can have them upload mods onto it.
And running on PC offers the hosting services the opportunity to run multiple instances on one box. It's not like one blade sitting in the data center is just running one instance of a UT server. It's running several instances. That's how they make it. That's how they make the economy of it work. Well, it's like you said, it's like $20 or $25 to buy that server space. A PS3 is only going to be able to run like one instance of the game.
Do you see a large community forming around UT3 and PS3? Are they going to migrate from Warhawk or Resistance?
I think it could happen. This is a really good game on PS3.
Well, so yeah, you've talked a lot about servers, but what about the gameplay? How does it run? How is the control?
So that's this is the big thing I've hit. If you've heard me talk about it on other shows, you've already heard me talk about this. The first thing is there's 30 frames per second, and there's 30 frames per second. Is it solid? It's locked at 30. It's not like we're trying to get up to 30 frames per second deal. It's we're running at 30 frames per second, which is cool.
Never drops.
No, doesn't. No.
Very, very rarely.
Very, very rarely. The game is totally playable. Totally playable. Runs smooth. Very easy to control. Very easy to figure out. Like one thing
on the basic level, does it look better or worse than Gears of War to you? The levels are bigger. There's more people on screen.
It's different. There's a certain artistic quality to Gears that this game doesn't have by virtue of...
They're almost indistinguishable, man.
The aesthetics are very similar to me.
They're almost indistinguishable.
Everyone's been talking about how long is it going to take for somebody to make a Gears of War mod. It won't take long at all.
Look at this, the new faction, when you create your character, the Lizard Men, I forget what they're called. But anyway, they look very, very similar to Locust.
Well, the Iron Guard that
you're
playing...
changing your Iron Guard, your clothes actually look like the Locust guys, with the robes, with the
even with little sashes hanging down in front of you, and the head gear and all that shit, dude.
So, and then the architecture, all that stuff's really similar. They look really similar to me, and I think there are actually parts of UT3 that look better where they throw in effects, where there might be a map and there's a giant sandstorm going through, and you'll see, a Dark Walker with its searchlight kind of piercing through that, and they'll actually look really good.
Does it have the level of detailed draw-in problems that seem to be endemic to the engine?
Well,
where
things
are popping in and loading?
Textures are popping in when you first load the game. That seems to be something
same
that's
thing happens
same thing with every Unreal 3 game.
Yeah,
yes.
same thing happens with
just making sure.
That's only there when you first load a map, though. I mean, it's hardly worth for it. I'd much rather have the game load quickly like this does than load over the course of 20 minutes like Battlefield 2.
Once it's loaded, it's good.
And then as you start to play, by the time you go up to the weapon station and grab your weapons, you'll pretty much have your textures on your pistol at that point. But you won't when you first start.
UT looks like it has more special effects and more detail in the textures going on, but I think there are parts of Gears that, to me at least, looked like they were more. They were lit in greater depth. Maybe they had more depth to the shadowing, had more depth to the lighting. They had a little more. Or maybe they're using a filter on it, something to make it.
Have you played all the maps on UT3?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because I finished the single-player campaign.
There's a big variety there.
There's a huge variety. Some of them, though, unfortunately, are recycled from the last couple of UTs, which some people on UT
but is
will
that
love.
bad, though?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, because people, we'll look at Team Fortress 2, right? It shipped with, 6 maps? And, however many of them, 3 of them, 4 of them are basically remakes of old maps. I think if you settle on an excellent multiplayer map, it can potentially be timeless, and people will like that. So in between learning the new maps and the nuances of the new maps, if the server rotation bumps them back into something that they're comfortable with and that they understand, I think that's generally a good thing, and it makes the experience that much better as you're easing yourself into the update.
All right, so what's the PC take on Unreal Tournament?
I can't give the PC take. I can give my take, and I don't like it very much. I mean, I'm
really
not going to be playing it. I've tried for over the past 3 weeks. I've been trying to play it, and I played it about 4 nights a week for these past weeks, and every 15 minutes I want to turn it off, and
Why?
then I might go back. I think it's pretty. There are many reasons for this, right? I mean, it feels bloated to me, design-wise. It seems like they're constantly throwing on new things just for the sake of it because someone says, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if you did this or something?" And what happens is they just accumulate, and it's this very Baroque game, where with Baroque architecture, where you get to the point where, why are you putting even more filigrees on this? It's got enough, So
But that's kind of the style.
It is not even. Well, it's the visual style of the game is very Baroque, but it's also the mechanisms of the game. So the way I mentioned this on GFW radio before, but if you're trying to find a balance where someone's got a very quick vehicle and they're going to run you down, Halo solves that by letting you jack the vehicle from them, letting you jump over it, and there's all these various ways to get around that. And in this game, it's like they couldn't figure out a good solution. So, they've got the Avro Longbow rocket, which is almost an instant kill, and it's like an automatic lock-on. So if you get that, but they're in the middle of the map, then you basically win. You just hold your right button down, and you lock and you kill it.
That sounds pretty unbalanced. I mean, is that hard? Is that a really hard weapon to find?
It's not that hard to find, no. But, I mean, that's one thing there. But then, so instead of just a clear organization of things, then they'll be like, oh, well, let's make it, what if you can feign death? So instead of someone running over you, you can feign death, but what happens is that you do that, and that really can be your only option, because if you jump or something over a manta, you land in the fans, you still die. But then it can just turn around, and it can, on the second pass, it will run you over, or it can just turn around and shoot you, and you basically are laying there on the ground. And there's just so many different. There's so many, the alt fires, the weapons. None of them feel distinct. I never feel like, oh, I should be using, with the exception of say using obvious things, using the link gun to repair, using it to build up a node. Most weapons, it's why would you want to use at this point the flat gun over your rocket? Why would you want to use that over?
But I remember using the bio gun back in old UT, the charge up thing.
Is it a matter of having your favorite weapons versus having situational weapons that you need to be aware of?
I think it's that. It's rather than situational weapons, it's just anything goes, and
that's kind of true.
It's because of it. I mean, there's just so many things and so many vehicles.
But do you think
I'm not confident that anything's
tweak the balance?
Right.
You think they can fix as it goes on?
It's kind of fundamental to the game. Fixing? It's always been this way. I mean, this is a weapon set they've all used. And to put it out there, I've never been a huge UT fan. I've always much preferred, multiplayer in the Quake series, and the speed and then the weapon used there. And although I did like, 2000 UT 2004 for some time, but there's a few other things. I mean, there's But you were saying how it's so fast that it can be good because it means anyone can just get in and just spam different weapons or just go full speed and a Viper kill something.
UT is kind of like the Mortal Kombat.
That's perfect.
In a way, it is.
Well, it is,
and that's not to say it's
so
bad.
many ways too. But it's also the game where just like Mortal Kombat, where it's smack.
Toasty, but it is kind of flashy and in your face and everything all the time. It is not about subtlety.
It's an overstimulation,
right?
Of your
it's not supposed to be this subtle game of
Yeah, I think that's perfect. It's the Mortal Kombat of FPSs, and it's like we're just like in fighting games. I would prefer, although there was a time when I really did like Mortal Kombat.
Your taste evolved.
It changed, and I would prefer Street Fighters and stuff. And it's like now
I'll agree with you on that point. In that, to me, UT does feel like It feels like the new Dodge Charger. It's like this really super high tech version of an old muscle car because it hasn't like the underpinnings haven't grown up any.
But it's still fun.
It's still fun, which
like
exactly
a Dodge Charger.
Yeah, exactly. Like you go out and take a Dodge Charger on a straight line and stomp on the accelerator, it's going to be a blast.
There's a key point to make here though, because the PS3 version's not out in retail yet, right?
The 11th.
So you've been playing the campaign and the bots.
Yeah, we also played a 3-hour online session yesterday.
Okay, so that could be one thing. Although you got that, and then there's also the difference between the PC and the PS3. I did try the PS3. It's slower. It does remove a lot of that. But the other thing is when you play bots, they don't play like humans. They don't constantly jump around, and you're able to accelerate your movement in PC by jumping. This is kind of an issue on PS3 with the stock configuration because the jump button's on the face buttons.
Right.
That means having to remove your hand from the right analog stick that makes you aim to jump. Whereas on PC, most people use spacebar for jump. They're never not jumping, right? So you could sacrifice one of your shoulder buttons for jump if you want, and then you'll see that. But I think those are all important too. I mean, to get the full sense of, like, you can come by and look what it looks like on a PC and then compare it to that, and you'll see the difference immediately. It's like, oh, this is definitely different. It's much easier to, say, anticipate an opponent's path and then, plan your rocket strike so that you do splash damage right where he's going to be a second from now. But whereas it gets like when it's in full hyperactive mode in a warfare map, right? Because it's not so much a problem in a CTF where you're in a corridor, you're in a hallway. A person's range of movement is restricted. There's walls around them. But when you increase the distances and when you increase the range of movement in an FPS like this, and you're able to jump and accelerate your speed, it's almost impossible to anticipate where anyone's going to ever be. And
I'm trying to figure out how to say this without sounding prejudicial. I think that so there's this idea about playing online, and online is super critical to how well Unreal Tournament works because, again, like you were saying, the bots are fun, and the bots look, Epic makes really good bots, and the bots make the single player a good training mission.
But there's still bots.
Right.
Yeah,
but people complain when their game doesn't have bots. Like, didn't PDZ not have bots?
Oh, and
no, it's Shadowrun.
Shadowrun didn't have bots.
The bots in this game are good, and they'll get you ready somewhat to play online. They're fun to play with, but it's mostly about playing online. So here's the dividing line between PS3.
No, wait, I was wrong. Shadowrun had bots.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Here's the dividing line between PS3 and PC. I think that, and this is not meant to be like a diss to anybody, PS3, even the most high-level play of PS3 UT3 is not going to be the same sort of community and environment as high-level UT play on PC, because high-level UT play on PC is just, it's just another... I don't know, Sean. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you follow what I'm saying? Like the hardcore UT community is going to get way out there. Whereas
but don't you think everyone's going out of their way to talk about how, like, no one's going to play this game on PS3 and why is this on PS3?
People are going to play it on PS3.
And if this is on 360, no one would be having that discussion at all.
I think tons of people will play it on PS3.
More people will probably play it on PS3 than on PC. Actually.
Absolutely, I think so too. Because TF2 is really
because Shane is talking about it.
That's it.
Yeah. That says a whole lot, though. Think about it. The fact that you are telling me you're interested in playing what is arguably the fastest, most twitchy, and then potentially hardcore, if you really want to obtain any mastery of it, we're talking about, like, I mean, I get Ice Train playing it, and when you, who doesn't normally play competitive, and you're saying that means that the PS3 factor is really important.
I'm a unique case here, but I do think, like, if you just walk up to this game and it's a shooter and it looks cool, it looks fun, has great graphics, has cool weapons, like, the people who like Call of Duty, the people who like Halo, like, everybody assumes they're going to be turned off. This game is so obscure.
No, not at
PC.
all.
No, it's not.
The PS3 will have more Shanes on it, and the Shanes will get interested enough to learn how to play it some, and it won't be as intimidating because everyone will be able to jump in and play it. Whereas, like, a hardcore server of UT right now has got to already be to the point where you jump into that thing, You better know what the hell you're
But
doing.
I do think
Surprisingly
I think it's
No, not yet.
I think it's showing up on PS3 at a weird time without a lot of hoopla and there's
I don't know about that.
It's from the makers of Gears of War 2. That's all over the box, and that's another selling
There's no
point.
marketing
But
out there
it is coming out at a weird time.
There's no marketing.
Yeah, it is
Thanksgiving
none.
and things over.
No marketing out for this game.
Late in December is an awkward time for
But
it.
there really
it's
isn't
Unreal Tournament.
a whole lot of competition on PS3. You're going
comes
to get
out-
that
Not at all.
It comes out the
migratory
same
thing.
day.
I will say
the
this.
same day as Orange Box and the day before
I can
Area
guarantee
51.
that neither of you guys will be playing this game 3 months from now. I can guarantee it.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know if he's wrong. He might actually be right. Although if I play it, I'll definitely be playing it on PS3 because I thought it was fun to play on PS3. I had a good time with that, and I get over sort of my when I'm looking at it on PC, I'm thinking, yeah, like it doesn't like the. Here's something else that pissed me off about this game. It has no signature new mode.
It does, but it's really a hybrid, and it's super convoluted.
Exactly. It's not new. It's a bunch of stuff they've done before combined into something that feels a lot like what they've done before.
Mm-hmm.
And before they had Bombing Run, or they added Onslaught, or they had Andrew, you and I were talking about how much we enjoyed Assault.
I love Assault.
The reason I'm making that point though about you guys playing it is because I think people could get it and like, let's try this game out and have fun with it a little bit. But then there's like, if you're like, this is what I do. I like to play multiplayer shooters and I like playing with my friends. It's not just enough to say I'll turn this on maybe every 2 weeks. It's like I want to play this almost every night this week.
Please silence your cell phone before appearing on one of yours.
He's a popular guy. He's a popular guy.
We've talked about Unreal a bunch.
Yeah, we have talked about Unreal a bunch.
We can move on. Just to finish that point, though, it's like I think that it's largely it's largely a multiplayer game. The single player stuff is basically playing multiplayer maps with bots. Yeah. And
it's not an afterthought.
The pretense of a story. It's an afterthought, dude.
No, dude, come on. The amount of work they put into bot and everything else, it's not an afterthought.
That's true.
Compared to the last one, which had no single player,
But when you hear campaign, you're thinking like, oh, there's something here, and there's going to be all these consequences to what happens. Instead, what it is, it's like, hey, you just were online playing CTF in this map. You are now, except when the map loads, the guy goes, what we need to do is take over this orb, and we're going to do it, and it's going to allow us to be stronger in the next battle. And it's like, oh, I just played this online, except no one's telling me that, that there's some kind of reason for it.
I'm going to kill those Necrus bastards. Yeah, anyway. All right, so what else have you been playing? Company Heroes. Do the Company Heroes thing, because before we let these guys take over console world, you got to give us some Company Heroes love.
It's fun. You can compare it to, you've been playing World in Conflict on console, right?
Not on console. I checked it out on PC, yeah.
I like it. It's kind of like prevented me from trying World in Conflict again because now I'm so into it, and it's my game. You know what I'm saying? I play a game every night of the week. It's like now I basically play Company Heroes every day. I mean, you came by yesterday, and I was playing in the middle.
So you're into the British?
And I'm into the... I like the Brits.
I like the Brits. What we're talking about is Company of Heroes Opposing Fronts, which was the expansion pack for Company of Heroes, but it's also a standalone game. It's been out for a little while for PC.
And it's awesome.
It's
basically, if you're... For me, once in a while I'll have these games, like before when I was on One Up Yours and I was talking about flight sims and then how I was trying out a submarine sim. But just for the sake of like, hey, now and then you'll go outside of your comfort range.
Right.
And you might find something.
Yeah, Company Heroes is really high on my pile of shame list. And RTS is like my anti-genre.
Hasn't that game been out for like 6 months?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Opposing Fronts has only been out for 2 months, but...
Doesn't matter, Shane. Dude, it is so cool. You should go watch Sean play this game. It is a game that not only is great to play, but I can tell you that watching it is still interesting.
Shane is so interested. He's sending text
I know.
messages.
He's all like, hold on, I'm
trying to diffuse...
Check my Sony stock. Oh, shit.
I'm trying to diffuse an international incident in my text message.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We're going to have to nuke Brazil.
But it's just like, it's... since I hadn't played RTSs in a while, I was outside of my comfort range, and I found myself just really getting into it in every nuance. And it was significantly different from other RTSs where you basically find the best units that are perfect for every scenario, or perfect in specific scenarios. And there's only a few of these, and you know when to throw a big blob of them together, and when to throw them at the enemy, and when to expect to win
Command and Conquer,
pure attrition, and when not to. Yeah, Command and Conquer and stuff. And then also, it's set in World War II, and that's actually a good thing for me. World War II, if it's done right, it's not played out. It's like I like knowing that, say, hey, I've got a squad with Bren machine guns. They're going to button this half-track. That makes sense to me. I understand it. It's not the same as like sometimes Command and Conquer, like when I look at the world, it might remind me of like a coloring book, a sci-fi coloring book or something. It's just like... just put some boxes on and say this is a gun or whatever. So the World War II thing's not bad for me at all, and it's very flexible. I played a game today where instead of just like you're winning, you just keep moving across the map, going the other person's base. So this game I played today, we got them down to 4 tickets left in a 500 ticket game. Tickets are like Battlefield. You cap a point and they run down. If you hold the majority, you run your opponent's tickets down. We got them down to 4 out of 500. And at the very end, they held a bunch of stuff in reserve. They started, using firebombing, walking stuck attacks, and just blew up all of our emplacements. Then started coming through with King Tigers and, really good Fallschirmjäger infantry squads. Pushed us back and then ultimately eliminated us. And we were trying to fly gliders, land them at the capture points, get commandos out and capture them for just 4 seconds. And we couldn't do it. And we won. And we watched our points go down from like 400 and something all the way down. And we lost by that 4 thing.
Wow.
Oh,
but it's like
shit.
that kind of a game makes it so much more fun. It's so unpredictable, and so you always have a chance to come back. Not always, but you do stand a fair chance of coming back if you manage.
So here's the intimidation factor. I watched you play it, and first of all, the game is gorgeous. Number one, so you got to have a decent computer just to be able to run the thing.
Is this a game like Supreme Commander where you can zoom way out, zoom way in?
You can never zoom that far.
I like
out.
that.
Much as I like Chris Taylor, this game to me looks so much more entertaining than Supreme Commander, because the combat has this sense of immediacy to it, where stuff is happening, and then that was going to be my question.
You're connected to it in the way you are with an action game, right?
Are the units really big on screen and very realistic looking?
You can make them, they look really realistic.
And the graphics hold up really well.
You can zoom into the level of guys.
So it's not just you watching little ants attacking on a field.
Right. Yeah. So, like if you command would throw a grenade or something, you'll see them, run up to cover, throw the grenade over, that blow the other guys.
See, that
out.
alone
it feels
is
like
important.
An action game.
You don't take cover by like clicking icons and finding cover. You look down there and go, oh, look, that's a fence. I could take cover behind that and actually take cover. But here's the thing I wanted to get to. You were moving really, really fast. How hard is it?
Cranked out, man.
How hard is it for someone who's coming into the game to be able to play this game effective and get up to that speed level?
I don't know, because everyone's different. I tend to think that I pick up things pretty quickly, but I'm much quicker now. When I started off, didn't use hotkeys. I was just like using the mouse for everything, and I still did well. You can pair yourself up with other experienced players and learn that way. But as you get more experienced than you want, like we deliberately picked people that were higher levels than us, so we had a good game, a challenging game. And then now it's like I know what all my units do. I have them hotkeyed. So it's like, I have everything set up so that if I need to get this one mortar going, that's bound to 3. So I see that they're coming in this one territory, hit 3, have the mortar fire on them, have the mortar fire smoke over here where my other guys are trying to get in, and then you just pick it up. That's like any game, right? You play a fighting game.
Right. There's a learning curve for everything.
Yeah,
dude, I would tell you, I can tell you, I was impressed because he was managing at least two, and oftentimes 3 separate individual battles, and managing his supply lines in the background of keeping guys healed, bringing in gliders with new support materials, building. It was awesome. It was so. I just kind of sat there with my mouth half open, going, wow.
The reason it's fun too, not to talk about the game any longer than this, but the final word on it is that when you're playing cooperatively with teammates, and then you really mix it up, and that, say, they're playing a different branch of a different army, so say they're American infantry and you're British and you're in a commando tree, you're able to help one another instead of just, I'm going to fight a battle over on this side of the map, you're going to fight yours, and let's pray to God we both win. You're constantly saying, hey, activate your healing station. So then his first aid guys come out and fix up my guys. He starts screaming, he needs help. So I throw an artillery barrage down, land some commandos, and help him. And so it's when that all comes together.
Oh, when that dude
when you're repairing his tanks and he's using his tanks to protect your guys.
Right.
So do you think it's the year's best RTS?
It is in my mind. I haven't played them all. I have played World Conflict, and I like
Wasn't
this
there a new
lot
Command
more.
& Conquer this year as well?
I like it so much that I'm so freaked out for it. It's definitely like my multiplayer game of the year right now, even over Team Fortress 2, which is really damn hard to say because I love
that's
that
big
game.
words. From
That
Sean
was a
Elliott.
stunner.
I love that game.
Wow.
I'll say this: of all the games I've seen, it's the game that most makes me want to go out and buy a new PC so I could play it. Really, seriously.
Wow.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah.
You've been playing games?
I have, but it's all games that I'm sure you guys have talked about already, but that's fine.
But that's why we bring
We're excited about your fresh
new ideas
perspective on these.
First and foremost, I've been playing games in my new apartment. I don't know if you guys remember this guy. He used to work here. His name was Mark.
And he had
a long time ago.
billion-inch television.
And he had a great apartment and a 60-inch 1080p television and this wonderful, wonderful couch.
Skip Pfister, my former roommate.
And we now call him Andrew McDonald.
Shane, Greg, and I all lived in the same apartment, only like 3 or 4 blocks away from Mark's old place. So when Mark moved out, I jumped all over it. And I am
deal of the century. And you get to babysit his TV,
That's
which
right.
we're all very jealous about.
Yeah. And I've been taking advantage of that since moving in last week. Call of Duty 4, been playing multiplayer. Had a really bad night the other night.
Oh, shit.
I'm the type of guy who perceives that the game is stacked against me, and the kill cam just kind of confirms that a lot. Or whenever I'm reaching a corner, I'm always one step too slow. Or it's just stuff like that. And it drives me nuts. And I usually have good nights with Call of Duty, but last Tuesday or whatever was a really bad
I mean,
night.
are you saying it's unbalanced because when you start out you don't have all that cool stuff?
Oh, no, it's unbalanced because it was specifically programmed to make me look bad.
Oh.
It was.
Like most games that I'm bad at.
What level are you now?
Grant will be glad to hear that.
I'm up to 10. I'm taking my time with it, but
You had that argument a few weeks ago with Mark and them that the game is stacked against, lower level players, and I saw tons of people online arguing, "Oh no, it's not! Oh no, it's not!" You just don't understand.
Mark McDonald was called a noob.
It's not
I actually got a guarded his right out of that.
He is right. It's not severely out of balance, but it is
right.
It is,
though.
You start out with, like, for me, the biggest advantage, like, immediately is the red dot sights.
Okay.
Because that just gives me a clearer aim.
Okay, I mean, I can buy that somewhat.
But
you do also get a hit cue, when you get the cross X.
Oh yeah, and that helps a lot
in your crosshair, so you know when you're making contact.
It does help a lot, but I usually just picked up whenever I ran out of ammo. I just picked up the first weapon I saw that was lying down, and it usually had a red dot sight, so that I circumvented that problem that way.
Okay,
but you are short on some of the perks right away, and you eventually get to a point where you're competitive and you're always like a threat. But I don't know.
We're never talking about like completely them blowing you out of the water to the point you can't fight back.
Yeah.
So I think if you qualify it with that, and then you say, well, when you're level whatever it is, I think it's 35 or 40, and when you're able to carry 3 grenades,
that makes it. Yeah,
that's huge. And then say you get a couple grenade kills, then you get the UAV, then you just start throwing those grenades on, where the dots are on the UAV.
The UAV, then you call in the airstrike, and then you call in the chopper.
And then, I mean, the thing is, some of the higher level perks add up, and they are. I mean, some of the weapons are really excellent.
Something I noticed, like whatever team I've been playing mostly team deathmatch. Whatever team gets the first streak of UAV and airstrike and chopper, that usually tilts the favor right away.
Be hard to come back.
It's hard to come back from that.
There's a technique you got to try where you get out whenever there's a mounted machine gun. This is as old as the series, because they have that expanding reticule indicator that you're hitting someone. You just get on that bad boy. It never overheats. You never reload it. Hold the button down, and as long as you kind of know where they can approach you from, you might need to put a claymore behind you. Just shoot it everywhere they can come through, and because you can fire through the walls in this game. Yeah. As soon as you get the slightest indication that you hit someone, just zone in right on there, and you get so many kills.
The map in the rain with the 2 silos, and you can get up on the elevated warehouse level that has the 50 on it. That's a sick spot to get on that thing.
All about exploits, aren't you? You enjoy exploiting this game.
Put it competitive advantage.
Hey, it's up to the other team to get a sniper out there to take you out.
Mm-hmm. What you guys should come back to afterward is when you guys all level up and you max out at 55 and you're a 5-star general. I think at least it made me realize just how much of the compulsion to play that game is the ranking system. Yeah. It's suddenly not as fun as it was. It's still great, but it's not
really.
It's not the way as great as it was.
That's why they put in the option for you to start over, to wipe it clean, and then you get like a
prestige
medal.
Leveling.
Yeah,
prestige levels. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I think that what I enjoy about it is there's a certain pace to the game that fits the way I like to play.
Yeah, shooters. I like the pace. I played Halo for a while, and I tried to make myself like it, but I'm just not a Halo pace type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the things that Halo does correctly, and I appreciate the things that UT does correctly, but for me, Call of Duty 4 does fit the sort of speed
the sweet spot
of speed and cover and situational awareness that I like in a game. I mean, whatever. Different strokes for different folks.
It's definitely an awesome game.
Mm-hmm. What other first-person shooters have you been playing, Skip Pfister?
I've been playing Super Mario Galaxy.
That's not a first-person shooter at all. How many stars do you have?
I hit 40
Nice.
last night. Yeah, I started over Thanksgiving
stars
break
do
at
you
my
have?
parents' house.
I still have 79 stars.
Oh, he's ahead of you by 39 stars.
I haven't been reading a lot of impressions lately. I'm just kind of blacking out and enjoying it by myself. Is it weird? Does it seem weird to you, the progression, where it's like you're kind of playing...
How incredibly open-ended it is?
Well, no, how fast you're doing these things, how much access the game gives you right away.
It's on purpose. And I realize that if you play like me, and if you're someone who, I'm going to get all 4 stars in this world.
That's what I've been trying to do.
By the time you get, if you play like that, by the time you get to the 3rd big galaxy,
you can go right to the...
You can go right to the boss,
yeah.
and it'll continue that way throughout the entire game.
Okay.
And it was on purpose. They wanted... I interviewed Mr. Koizumi, the director of that game, last week, and he was saying that, he wanted to make sure that nobody ever got stuck playing a level they didn't like. And if you found levels you didn't like, you didn't have to play them, and there's always other options to do.
The one benefit to that is I'm playing it just like in bits and pieces. I'm selecting from this big...
I found that cool too. Like with my 79 stars and having beaten the game, there are still 2 galaxies I've never been to, and I'm saving them. I'm like, well, I don't even know what they look like. I'm going to save those for a rainy day when I need like another dose of Mario fun.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm actually compelled to get like the 120. Like Sunshine, I didn't bother.
How about 121?
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
So I'll keep
But
it.
isn't it really fun? And
It is.
And isn't it just one of those like one more star games?
It
because
totally
it's super
is.
bite-sized. You never know what you're going to get. The levels are totally different from level to level.
I had to stop myself.
It's 1 in. You're like, oh, it's only going to take me 10 more minutes to get another star.
Can I borrow your Shane? I just traded Nick Sutner my PS3 for a Wii.
I know, and I actually, I was playing my roommate's copy of Mario. I need to buy my own.
I need to get one.
But it's
Why
just
did Nick trade away his
incredible.
Wii?
I don't know.
He played Mario. He
You're
already
the
played
first
Mario.
person to look at the exchange as I was getting the better deal.
Really?
The very first. Everyone else looks in shock at like, wait, you did a straight across trade for your PS3 for his Wii?
What's funny is
why did you do that?
The reason Nick did it is because he's already played through Mario, Zelda, and Metroid,
And
so he doesn't need it
he
anymore.
feels like he's good to go.
And I was telling
Yeah.
you, Sean, you should play through Mario and then sell it this Christmas while it's still worth like $500.
But I actually
I can
like
somewhat
the
buy that.
casual games. The reason I got it is not. I mean,
Well, but then
I can't
buy it
wait
again.
to play.
Buy it again
Mario,
next year when it's not hard to find.
But I borrowed from EGM's library. WarioWare,
Carnival
and
games,
the Marble Game, and
Carnival games.
Carnival games too. I'm not. That sounds like a joke, but hey, man, when you bring girls over and stuff,
I know you like
and you bring
carnies.
friends, family, like then they
You
can all
know,
play.
And your family's mostly carnies, so they will definitely appreciate that game.
Dude,
They'll be like, this is just like my...
they'll critique the authenticity of it, man.
But Zack and Wiki's on my pile of shame.
I need
this year.
it's on mine as well.
I think it's on everybody's.
This is bullshit. There's no way you can knock over 5 of those bottles in 5 tries.
That's no bearded lady. I'll show you a bearded lady. No. What else have you been playing, Skip Vista?
Thanks to our good friend, another guy who used to work here about maybe 10, 12 years ago, was Luke Smith. He IM'd me.
We were trying not to bring him up during this podcast.
Oh, sorry. He told me about this game called Bridge Builder. And it's just like a really...
I saw you play this day. I was
Is that a Flash-based game?
It's not Flash. It's just like a simple EXE.
It's IDF stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like a graph paper and green lines, and you get like anchor points.
Sounds like math.
It kind of is. It shows you stress points, and you run a train across it and test for structural integrity. And I'm
You run
halfway
a train
through it.
across and test for structural integrity.
It's
Great.
nerdy, but it appeals to my like 6-year-old.
Did you?
engineer.
Do you have to use a slide rule or anything with it?
No, not yet. I'm only halfway through.
That
but-
may be the worst game that's been discussed here since Scrabulous.
Sorry.
Negative.
As a kid, I was a big fan of those Constructs toys,
What are you?
where you just combine like.
You're
little bits
upset
and
that
pieces.
Andrew is playing a game that makes him think.
It doesn't sound like a game. It sounds like graph paper.
It's kind of a
Really, did you ever play
challenge game thing.
You never played Lunar Lander?
It's physics,
It's
and physics are fun. Spelled PHUN.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's about all I've been playing. But I'm going through my pile of shame. Do we still do that? Did we ever do that?
I want that
we
to be a whole thing of its own.
we
one day. I
never-
would love
we never
to
got
get
through
Maybe
Pile
in
of
a
Shame.
separate
Yeah.
review-based podcast
I
from the One Up Network, we could do that.
I so badly need to be on that because there's so many games that I want to play that go by, and I'm like,
We'll see.
I'm such a tard for not getting that.
We will see what happens. Mass Effect is my next after I'm done with Galaxy. And then I need to hit Uncharted and Ratchet. And I still have not played enough Rock Band.
Yeah,
So
you know one
I have
thing
a lot to do in the next month.
for real, but at least you have time to do it.
Yeah.
All right, Shane, we're at like 47 minutes here. So how much do you have? Because that'll be divided.
I
Maybe
have 3 titles to
should we?
speak about.
You want to?
I'd like to do them before the break.
All right.
Let him do it.
All right.
I'll let you guys talk about your boring ass PC games all you want. All right.
Is one of them Cul-de-sac?
Do we let you pretend that you're interested in UT3?
So this weekend, Skip was moving his stuff out, and Mark
you were having a sandwich and playing.
Let him tell it. This is a good story.
Let me tell my story. And Mark McDonald is crashing at our place. So there's people in and out. My friend Ted, Garnet, you stopped by it, and I'm sitting in our living room playing Xbox 360 all weekend. And
we didn't recognize him.
Everyone's like, "What are you doing?"
He was like on display for people to see.
Yeah, everyone's like, "What's that controller in your hand?" I'm like, "I'm playing Xbox 360," and no one believes me. But then they see what I'm playing, Garnet Lee, and they make nasty comments. They like,
I made no nasty comments.
But yeah, you did. What did you see?
I saw you reading Entertainment Weekly, having lunch, and I don't know. I think
I was also playing
every
DS.
so often messing with the controller.
You also helped me move while playing this game.
I did. I was playing DS, reading magazines, eating lunch, and helping you move while playing Coldcept. But that's not to say that it's not good.
It's totally engaging.
It's the game of the 21st century. Multitasking.
As you've seen on my blog.
He was doing it at sprint speed.
As you've seen on my blog, I'm kind of addicted to this game, actually. Like, I've played a lot of it. It's the most Xbox 360 I've played all year. I mean, like, I've probably put 20 hours into this game. And
did I hear that Nick failed again today?
Yeah,
I
kicked Nick's ass yesterday again in a rematch.
Shane sends me an IM yesterday.
You would like it, dude. It's a nerd game. It is a mixture. Imagine, if you will.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Seriously.
Fucking nerd. Imagine, if you will, Magic the Gathering meets Monopoly. Oh, yeah.
Wait, did he just do Rod Serling?
No.
Imagine, if you will.
Perhaps a little bit. But no, it's really good, Garnet, and you should give it a chance. Like, the graphics are shit. It is ugly as sin. The graphics look like something Dreamcast would have laughed at.
That just came out on 360 because I seem to remember
comes out in February.
Playing that game. Haven't you been playing this game the entire time I've known you?
Well, it came out for It came out for PS2 a few years ago.
Okay, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
Actually, you and I have talked before about how Neo Geo we enjoyed
Card Fighters Clash. And if you have Card Fighters Clash,
it's like the Jack in the Box ad. He's finishing my sentences.
Well, Card
for
Fighters
me.
Clash. And I realize I'm predisposed to like these games. I got every card except for one in Card Fighters Clash. I spent over 200 hours playing PSO Episode 3 Card Revolution online.
I think you're the only one.
It sounds like a YouTube video blog. You got.
I know. You remember? Yeah. This was like 2 years ago.
I got all the cards. The Black Lotus. If you've got the Black Lotus, will you blog on my? Will you send me a response, YouTube?
Basically, yeah. And I used to play PSO Episode 3 online, and no one played the game in America, so I had to play against Japanese people.
God!
You had to stay up really late to find someone to play.
3 in the morning is when the servers were populated. Anyway, Coldcept comes out in February. The demo is out at Xbox Live. It looks like shit. The loading times are terrible, but it's a really fun.
And that was the reason that I was going to say that it was irritating to me, because the load times are terrible, and there's all these, and
then when it loads the graphics, you're like, it took me 5 minutes for that.
Right, and all of those little animated sequences are completely unnecessary to the actual mechanic of playing the game.
And you can't turn off the animations.
If you could get rid of all that stuff and just get down to the game part.
But the game, the strategy, the collection, the depth, it's very rewarding.
But why do I need all that other crap?
It's you can do other things while playing it too. Like, you're making fun of me for playing other games and reading books and helping Skip move while playing the game, but
yeah, I appreciated that.
Chess.
Exactly. It's kind of like playing.
Why is it on Xbox though? If it did so well in Japan and it was a PS2 game before, I take it that it's.
This game has a tragic tale. Like, the developer is really small, and they released the game in Japan a year ago, but it was so buggy and so broken that they couldn't even.
So Xbox.
They couldn't even.
Right?
Yeah. Well, they couldn't even fix it with a title update, so they had to recall every copy of the game produced, and it took several months to produce a finished game that actually worked. So yeah, it was a huge flop in Japan.
Oops,
as expected.
our bad. Sorry.
But and it ought to be an Xbox Live Arcade game, but it can't. It's a disc title. It's not full price. It's $40. I talked about it last week, but try the demo. And I'm going to be playing this game. It's a good game. I like it.
I'm going to have to talk to Nick because you tried to force me to get him to do a rematch. And
we rematched, and I kicked his ass.
He did grant you a rematch, and that's why you got to tell him, just let you hang, just let you wallow in your.
He plays so conservatively. It's interesting because you can really bring a different strategy. Anyway, I've talked about that game. Similarly, bad graphics. I saw this game that EA had an event for.
Oh dear! Yeah, I went. Actually, you had already left.
I'd already left.
We went
so you played Ninja Reflex as well.
Ninja Reflux.
Did you also play Ninja Reflex?
Yes.
So EA announced this new game for Wii and DS coming out in spring, and it's a mini game collection aimed at casual gamers.
They had an event just for this.
They did, and
it's not 5, but 6 mini games.
They showed 3.
Wait, 6?
It's 6.
They showed
6
3
full mini games.
of the 6 mini games, and those mini games involved catching flies with chopsticks,
right,
throwing shurikens at targets, and like touching fireflies.
Well, you had to watch on the screen, and when the fireflies showed up, press
a button,
and that's fully half the game.
That's half of the game. So ultimately, my review of this game is A. It should come with a free controller like we play, which it does not. Or B. It should be a WiiWare title, which it is not.
Why does no one learn from WarioWare? They all try to.
Well,
same thing with Rub Rabbits.
But you know what they're learning?
That had like 20 games.
You know what they're learning from? They're learning from your favorite game, Carnival Games. Today, the Dude, put your phone in my
that shit's blowing up, son. It's your mom.
It's fun. She's like.
It's the most basic delivery.
I'm not even going to try to respond. Where was I?
Ninja Reflex.
Yeah, so your game, Carnival Games. The president of EA Casual, this chick today, this lady, she was like, Enthusiast Press doesn't know how to even play casual games, and Metacritic doesn't matter, scores don't matter. Look at Carnival Games.
That whole thing of hers was really confusing.
It was like Carnival Games is a piece of shit, yet it's
Carnival Games was fun, man. I played it at E3. That shit was fun.
Well,
that's part of the reason I traded.
All right, well, if you like Carnival Games, you might like Ninja Reflex.
They're more Carnival, dude. There are more games in the Carnival than fucking catching flies with chopsticks, dude.
All right, but then to change gears entirely, I've also been playing a fucking awesome, beautiful game, and that game,
at least one,
that game is Burnout Paradise.
Oh,
I know.
We can't talk about it because I've been playing too.
We can talk about it in broad strokes.
Okay.
The demo comes out in about a week, and you've been playing it as well. And what astonishes me about this game is they give you a world just to fuck around in. Like, the huge city of Paradise City is really big, and there's so much to do, so many things to explore, so many incentives to explore, that you don't even have to do the 120 races and events that are available from the outset. You can just fuck around and have so much fun.
That initial sense of, wow, this is huge, I need to explore it, trumps, at least for a long time, trumps your desire to actually race and do stuff.
And the fact that it's running at 60 frames a second and looks the way it looks.
Those guys are good at graphics.
Man, I mean, GTA, we'll talk about the trailer here in a little bit, but enjoy your 20 frames a second, dude. Look at this game. And this is the whole world. There aren't people
walking. When you play that, does it make you wonder why there's still a Need for Speed series?
It does.
Oh, this one does definitely.
It really does.
This one definitely.
It really makes
especially
me wonder.
because it does the stuff that they're trying to do in Need for Speed Underground, or the open city and race anywhere. But this is just something that's way more compelling, but without all the car upgrading and the dumb story stuff.
Small tweaks, wrecks are inconsequential as long as you're not in a race. If you're just fucking around, you can wreck all you want. You can if I'm going at high speed and I see a cool way to wreck, I'll just wreck. Why not? There's no.
You just get a cool slow motion view of it, right?
And even if you're in a race and it's a hard race, sometimes maybe you don't get first and you have to get first, so you get second and you're kind of screwed, and you've raced way far out in the middle of the boonies. Well, there's usually something to do right there. You can find another event around there, so you didn't go there for nothing. There's always something to do, always stuff to find.
Well, it's the density, right? It's the density of.
But it's everything. It's the gameplay. It's the graphics.
It's the
control.
handling too.
I have a build too, because I have one of the builds too, and for me, it's the density of stuff you can do in every freaking block of this entire city. There's always another jump that you didn't see before, or another place you can break through, or another shortcut you can find.
It does a great job of giving you new stuff, and the way it introduces cars into the world. It drops these cars in, and you have to take them down. There's somewhere in the city, you find this guy, you go take him down. My only real thing that's funny is so Mark was crashing at our place, and I was starting to play this game the other day, and I'm playing it on PS3, and right when I'm booting it up, I see you can turn on 6-axis controls, and I'm like, 6-axis steering. And Ryan O'Donnell of Game Videos, he's in the back of my head because he's Mr. 6-axis, and he's also Mr. MotorStorm, and I also like MotorStorm. And I'm like, well, okay, I should start learning this with 6-axis now, because if I don't learn now, I'm never going to learn. So I go to turn on 6-axis, and Mark McDonald's like, what are you doing? 6-axis is terrible.
Good job, Mark.
I'm like, no, dude, you need to learn now, or else I'm never going to learn. So I start trying to learn. He's laughing at me.
What would it matter if you never learned?
Yeah.
But it's fun.
You're just going to be worse.
But it's
no matter
fun.
what.
But it's fun.
It is fun.
It's totally obnoxious and annoying, and it's irritating the shit out of me. But it's fun.
It's a new frontier, and Ryan.
It's a new frontier.
Ryan and I have very similar tastes.
It's a new. What the fuck are you talking about?
Ryan and I have very similar
Look
tastes.
at me, Mom. I'm driving my car with the PlayStation remote.
And Ryan, he swears by 6-axis. He says it's the only way to play racing games. So I believe him, and I'm prepared to give it a shot. But
So is the wheel that came with that Ubisoft driving game that you put the Wiimote in. That's the only way to play a driving game.
Burnout's a racing game, but it's not like a traditional racing
Yeah,
game. It's like I'm a driving really fast game.
Right, it's not a serious racing model.
Yeah.
It's not like a simulation. It's not Gran Turismo here. But yeah, Mark's consternation was enough to make me turn off 6-axis.
Did you try? So did you try it?
I did try, but I crashed very quickly.
And how did it work? How well did it work for you?
I'm gonna have to go back and try it again. But I'm afraid I probably
Don't force yourself to like it.
What was
It's
the old
okay if you don't like it.
Namco controller?
the Nedcon.
Jog-Con?
The Nedcon.
Nedcon?
Yeah.
There was two of them. Yeah, there was the Negcon, which you like rotate.
The twist.
That's the one I mean. That was.
That's
I
awesome.
like that.
That
That was
controller's
great.
awesome.
That was.
And then there was the
fantastic.
Jog-Con that came with R4 that had like the circle.
Not as good.
No, yeah, not as well
Not as
received.
good.
That's
But
the
yeah.
version of the Max controller.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
I mean, we can't be reviewing about Burnout, but download the demo, please.
Oh yeah, which is coming
13th
of December.
Soon.
So there you go.
So yeah, that's enough for me. There you go.
Wow, dude, that was.
That's it.
We had
I
massive
wanted
breakdown.
to play Wii Fit, but our copy is still in transit, tragically.
Oh,
Next week.
That's all right. You get your board, and that'll give us something new to talk about next week.
Does that come with like any games that aren't just like Shane Pilates or something like that?
Shane Pilates,
I mean, no. That's a serious question.
Well,
phrased
okay, so
in
there's
also
in a
known as
serious way.
Shalates.
So does it have like skiing and
Yes,
and, okay.
there are over 30 contests, and they're kind of evenly split between things that aren't games like push-ups and jogging, and things that are games like ski jump or like put balls in a hole.
All right, give us a second to catch our breath. We're going to take a little break. We're going to come back on the other side, and we're going to dig into all the other topical stuff from the past week that we have to catch up with. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Jennifer Tsao, Managing Editor for EGM, and I'm here to tell you about an exciting giveaway. I'm here with Shane Bettenhausen, EGM Executive Editor.
I'm not here representing EGM, however.
You aren't. Kathleen Sanders from The One Up Show.
Mm-hmm. That's me.
Jeff Green from GFW Radio.
Hi.
AKA the Brodeo.
I'm
and
not
also
representing
a
the
magazine,
Brodeo.
Games for Windows magazine.
Yeah.
And Michael Donahoe.
I am here representing EGM.
Yes, EGM News and Features
Well, who's
Editor.
Shane representing? One up yours?
That's it.
And
Okay.
I'll tell you
Traitor.
why they're here in a minute. First, I'm going to tell you that we're having an exciting contest. We're giving away some stuff, and you're going to have a chance to
What's
win.
the stuff?
The stuff is 2 PS2s
Nice.
and 2 copies of the game
That makes PS4.
Buzz, the Mega Quiz.
You don't get both PS2s.
No,
You
we're
get
going to have
one
2.
PS2
You don't
Thank
get
you.
a copy
of
I'm
Buzz.
so glad you clarified
Yeah.
that
I was
because
going to say, like, why would you need two PS2
I
games?
knew-
Eight
PS4.
friends who want to play Buzz. Yeah.
there will be 2 winners.
Yes.
And
Okay.
each gets a trivia game pack extraordinaire. And even if you're a next gen snob, this makes a great gift, does it not?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. for
Free,
kids.
it makes a great gift.
But nothing comes easy around here. We're not just going to give it to you for emailing
Oh,
in
no.
something. No, it doesn't work like that. What we're going to do is we're getting together a representative from each show. Well, from 4 of our shows. I'm
The
getting
sports
stuck.
anomaly, they're screwed.
Yeah.
You don't want them there anyway.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry,
They're only good
legendary thread.
Sports questions. No. Jeff and I.
Yeah, we represent Legendary.
Oh.
Thread.
I
Sorry.
got together a bunch of you to play the game, and we are asking you listeners to guess who is going to win. The contestants are representing One Up Yours, EGM Executive Editor Shane Bettenhausen.
And I gotta say, I have an encyclopedic knowledge of useless trivia.
You're pretty good.
I know.
You're known as the Cliff Clavin.
I kind of know
EGM.
everything. However, I gotta say, I'm a little scared of Jeff Green
See,
Yeah.
because
I know what you're going to say.
he's really old.
That I knew you were going to say that.
And the older you are, the more wisdom you.
That's true. You may
amass.
have book knowledge, but I was there.
Yeah, it's
When
like,
Calvin Coolidge did whatever he did, I was there.
exactly.
Yeah, so representing the One Up Show, of course, is Kathleen.
Me.
And representing EGM Live, of course, is Michael Donahoe.
Who's going to lose?
I don't know. I'm very quick with the buzzer.
Dude, you're like 13 you're like 13 years old. You like 80s trivia. You're like,
It
I don't
does-
know.
But he could be
I
a
wasn't
kid
there.
savant.
It
sir.
does worry
there is
me
there is
because
a kids buzz game, so I might do really good. at that.
Donahoe has not seen Desperately Seeking Susan, even though he claims to be a Madonna fan. So it's
But this isn't a Madonna buzz game, is it?
No,
If
but
it is,
Buzz,
I'm out. I lose.
Buzz covers all trivia. It's like
Okay.
Trivial Pursuit. Whoever picks the winner will go into a pot. We'll pick 2 names at random, and they will win the PS2 Buzz prize pack.
If you know what's good for you, you vote for Shane.
So what you do is, here's how you
Shane
enter.
is a master of lies.
You send an email to buzzgiveaway@oneup.com.
Is that one word? Buzz giveaway?
Buzzgiveaway@oneup.com. Put your choice for the winner in the subject line. Okay, people? So if you're voting for Shane,
As
write
you should.
Shane. If you're voting for Kathleen, write Kathleen. If you're voting for Jeff,
You get a nickel from me. Each vote, you get a nickel.
Jeff. And Michael is the EGM Live
You would also
candidate.
accept Donahoe or the Ho.
Actually, don't get creative. Let's just go
Okay,
with
we will
a
not
first
accept
name, 'cause
either the Ho
There
or...
may be such a thing as an email filter, but, maybe I can come up with some programming of my
Do
Outlook
they also
rules.
have to, in the email body, put their name and address in case they win?
I'm so glad you said
Oh,
that,
she's so
Kathleen,
good.
because
Did
in
you like
order...
that segue?
That was
In
excellent.
order to send you the Buzz PS2 prize pack, we will need your name and mailing address. And if you want to go to a website and figure out more details, since you couldn't listen and you
do. Tell
don't
me
know
more.
you don't know how to rewind, let's put them on egmliveblog.oneup.com.
I'm interested in the terms and conditions of this giveaway.
We do need your entry by December 12th. Because the winner is going to be announced on One Up Yours and the other podcasts, but it will happen on One Up Yours first on Friday, December 13th.
Friday the 13th.
So if that's a
Wow.
That
lucky
bodes
day,
poorly.
if it's a
Nice.
lucky day
Wait,
for you, enter.
when do we compete? When
Next-
do our brains compete?
In a few days.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
You
It's
boys
going to
are
be
going
good.
down.
It's going to be good. So enter and win.
And we're back. This is
You forgot who you are. You're like, I don't know.
Chapter 2, the news. So where do we want to start? Actually, let's start with, during our intermission, Sean came back and he said, guess who that was on the telephone?
It was that big deal. I checked my messages when we took our break, and it was Paul Burns, who used to work with us at EGM.
A.K.A. Paul Van Burns.
Paul Van Burns, PVB.
And the funny thing was, though, was his message sounded all bummed out. And I was like, what's up with this? And he's like, I just called you, man. And, you picked it up, and I just heard a bunch of you and a bunch of guys laughing. It's like, and then you hung up. And I called back, and you wouldn't answer. What's up, man? I just wanted to see if you guys wanted to come have a drink down at the bar.
Aw.
So it was kind of like,
Oh, you lost a friend.
yeah.
PVB, we still
Speaking-
care.
Called at the
Speaking of-
most inopportune time, Paul.
Speaking of losing some friends, Jeff Gerstmann was lost to the fans over at GameSpot. So this is an issue that's a very hot topic, and I'm going to introduce it by saying this: that
You get out your can opener here?
I'm gonna get on my can opener because I know we have some strong opinions on this, and I want to preface them by saying that CNET has issued a statement that none of the implications of impropriety are true, and that the situation surrounding his dismissal from GameSpot was an internal matter that was the culmination of some investigation, whatever, that they're perfectly grounded to do it, had nothing to do with the Kane and Lynch review that we're about to talk about, or IDOS or advertiser pressure, but it brought into sharp focus a big subject for especially enthusiast press, which is the impact of advertising and how it can affect editorial.
Regardless of what actually happened, these are things that need to be talked about.
I mean,
here we go. So now there you go. We've had the legal side taken care of. Let's get into the subject.
it's a touchy subject.
It is a very touchy subject. So
I think what's interesting about this is, the controversy surrounding his dismissal and Kane and Lynch. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. It's the first time someone's lost their, someone's presumably, or what's the word I'm looking for here?
Implied.
Allegedly lost their job over this.
Okay.
But having worked in this industry for 8 years, I can tell you that it's real, that this kind of thing does happen.
These pressures
These pressures exist, that marketing and PR.
Sad. It's like we're coming out like
I know.
victims of molestation.
Yeah, like my friends who work at
talk
other
about
my
this.
friends who work at other outlets, not Ziff, a lot of times the same publisher will be putting the same pressures on multiple outlets with a title or
It's a strategy at this point. It's a well-employed strategy.
Right.
It's a very old marketing strategy.
And here at Ziff, we basically don't put up with that bullshit. We never have. And if someone wants to pull that, we're just like, okay, that's it. It's over. We've had to stop accepting, editorial cooperation from publishers and ad dollars from publishers because we refuse to give in to their what they want to get an exclusive review.
Well, part of the foundation
we stopped even doing exclusive reviews.
Yeah, we even stopped doing exclusive reviews because of what is expected from something.
It invites so many bad things.
Yeah,
so
and
we just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Part of the foundation for separation, we call it we refer to it as separation of church and state, which is us keeping our advertising house on one side of the floor or even above us, and the editorial house, completely divorced from them on the other side of the floor, removed, not on email threads, not on conversations, is that the reason the audience is there, which by the way is the audience that the advertiser wants to reach, is because they value what we're saying. As soon as that gets called into question, the audience is just going to go someplace else. And if that happens, who the hell is going to want to buy advertising on us?
I mean, and the takeaway from this whole hoopla is who can you trust? And
that's true.
The question is, I don't really know anymore. I mean, it's really hard.
Because of what we just said at the opening of this segment, we don't do that shit. Ziff Davis doesn't do that.
Right.
Why would anyone
believe us when we say that?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Do you even believe us when we say that?
Can we blame
who's
you
gonna
for not
say
believing
that they do?
Right.
Anyone's going to be like,
right. I mean, we're not going to point the finger, but it's out there.
So this whole thing started off with, Penny Arcade really was on the front line. They really broke the story. Tycho did a article on Friday.
In fact, while we were taping last week's one of yours, we came out of it, and this had all happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, was like, "Why didn't you guys talk about Gerstmann Gate?" And we're like, "Well, it literally hadn't happened when we taped the show."
And I'm kind of glad that we didn't because
it hadn't really come out.
It hadn't really come out yet. It would have been really oh my God, let's just respond to it. We wouldn't have all of this other interesting stuff to talk about. Which is one thing is done, which is really good. It has brought the subject into the blogosphere of the net, where people are talking about it on forums or talking about it on blogs. It's become a hot subject. It makes it in sharper focus. So the first thing was that they brought out was that the story, basically they immediately accused GameSpot of terminating Jeff for his review of Kane and Lynch.
Mm-hmm. And only because of Kane and Lynch. That was the initial thing.
And I gotta say, when I first heard that, on last Thursday, I believed that couldn't be true. That this new management were probably looking for an excuse, for whatever reasons they had for wanting him out, not in that position.
You have to build a case to get rid of someone with Jeff's long experience and his position.
If there was
and his audience appeal,
and if there was something about that review that whoever his boss found inappropriate or whatever, then they could use that as the final straw. It wasn't just you did this and we're firing you even though we loved you yesterday. I don't believe that was true.
And now what's also interesting to follow up on that is Joystick, and I believe Kotaku also had comparison articles later this week that showed the original review and then the
edited.
Edited and adjusted review. Where, by the way, they did not change the score. Now, so this is interesting. If in fact you're going to say that they termed Jeff for his review, they didn't wind up changing the score. Which, by the way, that's the thing that's most important, right? Is that's the thing that from the publisher standpoint, I should say, that's the point that they get their panties in a wad the most about is oh my God, this score is going to hurt us X amount on Metacritic.
And what's weird is that the score is only 9% off the Metacritic average for that game. It's not as if he gave this game a 0.
Yeah, it's not an aberration from what everyone else has been giving it.
But what's interesting is that they did change quite a bit of the wording of the review, assuming that people actually worded reviews.
You were talking about that earlier today, that you think a lot of that was just them editing the review.
Well, there wouldn't be I don't know, I don't want to throw stones at anyone, but I mean, as an editor, when you look at that, I'd say the majority of it is just indicative of what would happen when you're trying to clean up someone's writing. Mm-hmm. Make it clear, right?
Yeah, people
because there were problems. Any little things that most people wouldn't notice, but if anything from dangling modifiers to words used inappropriately, but then there were also things that changed the tone. As far as I understood it, looking at it, as an editor, I saw things that were sort of there to soften the tone.
Stage 2, I think, was what really ratcheted up the heat on this subject, and that would be Valleywag jumping into it. And what happened was apparently an alleged GameSpot associate anonymously posted to the folks over at Valleywag a very detailed accounting of what happened at CNET over this whole thing, and there were some parts that he bolded out, and I'll just bring a couple of those. He said there's been an increasing amount of pressure to allow the advertising teams to have more of a say in the editorial process. He goes on to say, he talks about the review thing, which we've already brought out to light, where, about exclusive reviews. He says if a game's getting a 9 or above, the review can go up early. If not, it'll have to wait until the game is on the store shelves.
That happens.
That exists.
That's just another. I constantly sort of rip on the whole like we're first. I was the first person in the world, syndrome. Which is basically the same as the whole first post, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
it's very much like that.
First post.
Yeah, it's like okay, good for you. But then that we know that there's all this pressure
to get first
put on you when you're in.
Wait. To get first post on a message board thread, you don't have to agree to give them a 9.5, right?
Well, you don't have to. You don't necessarily. I'm not saying that either. You don't have to agree to give a game an inflated score in order to have the first review. But you must, however,
that's not what you're saying?
No, you don't have to.
You're saying that doesn't happen?
You can.
No. I'm saying that does happen.
But to say it must is not to say it can, or it
because
or it does, or it has.
Our group has done exclusive reviews in the past, and we never had that problem.
But I do think that when there are exclusive reviews out there right now, that when you see that exclusive review, that score was approved by the publisher before you see that review.
And it's communicated in advance because you will see the score on the packaging. The review's created so far in advance that when you ship the game, you can put your logo of your website or your magazine on there, and then it's a feedback loop. You get the actual.
The part that makes it so difficult to talk about is that this is always done. It's very much dependent on the individual ethics of each person that's out there, which is one of the reasons to me that
it should be the ethics of the outlet. I mean, whatever standards these different media outlets have should be throughout all the writers.
But that whole thing we're talking about there, there's like this whole culture of, well, we didn't actually say we needed to get X review score. We just wanted to have an idea of where the review score was going to be, which makes it sound very neutral, right?
Right. It's not like
we're not really
it's not in writing. When the publisher comes to you to get an exclusive review, it's kind of an understanding that that you and them will work it out and you'll figure it out before it goes up.
And they do want to know, they do expect to know the score in advance of publication, and that means a few things. That means that if it does go to print, it implies that they're satisfied with that score. Because if they're not, then they could say, well, let's not do this. And if they don't say, hey, we don't want you to do this now because we're not happy with that score, it will be understood by everyone at the staff that we're going to go ahead with this, and this bridge is getting toasted.
So how do you guys feel about the softer side of this, which is a situation where over the course of the preview cycle of a game, a publisher knows that outlet A has become they're fairly happy with the game. They think the game's come along well. That you're pretty confident that the game is going to do well with them. So you say, you know what? We know you guys have enjoyed it. We know you guys are already on board with the way it's going. We're going to give you the exclusive review.
I mean, I've heard that. I've heard kind of like good old boy mentalities, like, oh, we knew 8 months ago that our game wouldn't receive a score lower than this from these reviewers, and like that doesn't make it any better. That's
what I say. How do you feel about that?
It's just dangerous because no matter how genuine your enthusiasm is for the game, it's going to cast your eventual review in that light.
I mean, there have been games where I'm so excited for them, like Phantasy Star Universe. I fought tooth and nail for EGM to do a cover story because I love PSO so much, and the game turned out to be a disappointment, and I gave it a 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've gotten to the point where if I anticipate I might be on a review, I just stop reading preview coverage of it. I did that with Assassin's Creed. I didn't watch any of the videos, and I try to go in as blind as I can. And that's one way of kind of counteracting it, but it has to be a publication-wide.
But in this day and age, when these publishers are like manufacturing and creating these AAA titles from nothing, where there's no basis for this title to be a AAA title,
that's another problem.
And they feed it to us as that, they feed it to the public as that, and like it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. This game is this.
Every publisher goes into the process thinking or believing that what game they made starts at 10.
For example, Kane and Lynch might be IDOS's biggest title they're shipping this fall.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask
Does that make it a 10?
So let me ask a question then. How many developers go into making a game not thinking that their idea is going to make a fucking awesome game?
I say they're probably all pragmatic enough to know that depending on their budget and the amount of time that they're given, like I can't imagine Harvey Smith went into Area 51.
When Harvey Smith called Area 51 like a fucking disaster or whatever.
But as Andrew makes fun of me all the time for being like a 20-year-old naive idealist.
I believe you're a 40-year-old naive idealist.
Okay, but
maybe it depends on their level of experience, you know.
It does definitely depend on that. And the pragmaticism aside, how many of them go into it in the back of their head where the kid with the ideas lives? How many of them go into it thinking they're not making something that's going to be great?
I'm sure their enthusiasm, excitement starts at 100.
Yeah, I would think so, right?
Then it's these games take 2 years to make. There's tons of people above you cutting stuff out.
I don't argue that. And the pragmatism
your enthusiasm goes down.
And the producer comes in, and the focus groups come in, and all these outside pressures.
But on the marketing and PR side, that enthusiasm stays at 100%, and then they expect you to kind of reflect that.
And then with your previews on the editorial side have been saying the same thing all along.
Yes.
And then they come, and the PR, the publishers, and the developers are all like, well, what was the change?
Yeah.
And then that's frustrating for them.
It's like we very frequently shoot ourselves in the foot
that's
with
kind of something
thing.
that we have to watch here. When people show us games for a preview, the PR people are very often like, what do you think? What do you think? And just a week ago, Shu and I were at a publisher seeing a game for a cover pitch, and it's very early, and they showed it to us, and like afterwards they're like, what do you think? What do you think? And she was like, I don't tell you what. He's like, I make it I think not to tell people what I think.
All right, well, let's not trumpet our own horns a whole lot here. I mean, we're under the same pressures, and we're under the same microscope that everybody is under.
I did want to say one last thing, though, about the reviews when you get the exclusive thing early, is that when you're getting it early, you're not getting retail code.
Right.
Oftentimes, you're not even getting gold code.
This is especially a big problem in PC stuff.
Yes.
And multiplayer
What
stuff.
happens then is that you have to accept that there's sort of this charity assumed on the part of the reviewer, the critic, that any bugs you run into are going to be fixed.
Yep.
And you see that all the time. So, for example, like the review, what I was given as Crysis review code at first was loaded with bugs, the kind that you would have to, restart the game at the level in order to get by them. I panicked and basically said, I can't review this because I can't put this out there and vouch that these are going to be corrected. They were fixed, as far as I understand. I heard maybe that people ran into some other ones, but it was like then another week later they send you another build. And so it's like that's a problem too. You just have to wonder, what do I give the pass, and what do I say, if this makes it in the game, I'm going to look like I got shit on my face.
Yeah.
So we're talking a lot about the relationship between publishers and the press, and I have to say that good friend of the show, actually my good friend Nguy Kroll, who I think is a fantastic author, wrote one of the most impressive pieces of video game journalism I ever read.
I found it slightly inspiring. I was talking to Ryan O'Donnell, and we saw it almost as a call to arms.
I found it equally inspiring and depressing.
I found it equally inspiring and insulting.
Really?
Yes, because there's one problem that I had, Nguy, from taking this away, which is that he kind of sets it up that you shouldn't listen to the enthusiast press. You should only listen to the level that I'm on because we're above all that because we don't have to worry about that.
I saw it as empathy for our situation.
There's some empathy there, but
I think it's empathetic.
The opening sentence, the first time we realized the profound contempt with which video game publishers regard the enthusiast press came early in this millennium.
What's not true?
Well,
about
and
that,
since then today,
this is a statement of fact.
I mean, I was talking.
I disagree. I don't think it's profound contempt all the time.
It's contempt.
I think
they view us as part of their marketing plans.
I mentioned it today. The EA.
That's not contempt.
The EA casual.
Yes, it is.
No, that's not contempt.
What I mentioned, the EA casual president, I don't know her name, today in an interview said, enthusiast reviewers do not understand how to review our games. That's contempt.
That's career advice from a person in a marketing position.
Okay.
Contempt.
And
that's contempt.
That is contempt. Okay, I don't disagree with that. I'm saying that as a blanket statement. I don't feel that all publishers view enthusiast press with contempt. There are plenty of PR.
I think they see us as both an obstacle and a possible we can help them. They can use us. They can utilize us to help sell their games.
It's not contempt in the openly hate and can't work with context,
or looking down your nose at them.
It's we are their tools a lot,
or their obstacles,
or their marketing department. To the marketing department,
marketing and PR, same.
Marketing and PR are not the same. Come on, you know
They're
better
both
than
trying.
that.
They're trying to get the same
same.
thing done. They're trying to sell their game, dude. That's what it's all about.
essentially
this is
the same.
commerce. Like the people who are selling these games, they don't care what we think. They don't care what you think. The player, they care about selling their game and whatever it takes to do it.
The commerce angle is a much bigger point to the marketing folks who are on that side of the
commerce angle versus the artistry angle. Like, what angle are you taking here?
They feel the same pressure, though. So if,
They do feel
if
the
there's
same
a
pressure.
same pressure on the marketing side and then higher ups in the VP level, then that will translate into a directive for the PR people.
I mean, we
Like
know
kicking the ass
we
for
know
the
that
PR people.
PR and marketing people get taken to task when their games get bad reviews from us. It is often. I mean, it depends on the publisher, but some people are held responsible. If your game gets bad scores, your PR was deemed to be ineffective. Like you did a bad job.
That's the
with
bonus-based game rankings thing that came out like last year or 2 years ago. It's
Let's
the same
do one thing, though, and I don't want to demonize all PR people uniformly.
Oh, no.
Because we know
there
people
are
in
tons
PR.
of really cool
I
people.
would
nice
say
people,
don't
but-
even go there because
but-
I'm going to staunchly defend them.
Here's the thing: I won't defend all of them, and I won't, or all of their actions. But the thing is that they're feeling the pressure too. So, say you know a PR person, and you do feel like, okay, this guy or this girl doesn't hold me in contempt.
Right.
But you know that at the same time, they're in this awkward position. It's kind of like you can never really be friends with the PR person because until you give one of their games that they're representing a bad score, and then it might take months for them to want to talk to you again. But so all through that, they're getting pressure from elsewhere, even if they're trying to fight back and say, hey, like just let's relax, it's not that bad. But and if their boss is constantly telling no, it's the same way.
It's the same way, yeah.
So that
and there's things you can do with PR people who I like and trust and respect. I will tell them if their game is really bad and it's really early, I've let them know. I'm like, this game is bad.
And they're professionals about it, and it makes the whole thing a lot better.
I remember games very early on where I've seen them that are very bad that are supposed to be good. That's happened where I've just been like, hey, look, I know your publisher might think this game is this, and it is not this. It is this.
And that's the big
and
difference right there, right?
People have been like, thanks for telling me that because you know more than me that this game isn't.
So what's increasingly happened is the publishers have become big corporate entities, and big corporate entities want security, and they want the security of numbers. They want to know how to manage their business, which is why the functional data side of tracking services that are employed on enthusiast websites to give feedback of who's clicking on this game, what kind of feedback is getting becomes so important. N-Guy kicks off talking about this with saying that he can't help, or he says he uses the Royals form, we can't help but feel as though the deal with the devil that the business side of the enthusiast outlets struck long ago, taking advertising dollars from the very companies that they cover, has become increasingly Faustian in recent years. Why? It's primarily because of the rise of the internet and the new opportunities it's afforded. I disagree with this because the very fact that we are enthusiast press means that we are talking to that audience, and this goes back to what I was talking about. But we have to be above it, because if we're not above it, we don't have the audience. GameSpot's audience will probably suffer as a result of the perception that they're no longer impartial. As people are going to think now, whether true or not, these guys are in the publishers' pockets. So their subscribers have already started to, apparently started to leave. Their audience will start to suffer, and as a result, their advertising is not as appealing anymore. Right?
I don't know. Their numbers are high. They get a lot of traffic, and those people that leave will eventually be replaced by people who don't maybe know what happened.
And you're looking at
care.
This is the weakness in the power of boycott in America because of these conglomerates. It's like, well, most people aren't read up to say that, GameFAQs belongs to the same company, or that Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, any of the other holdings for the same company, and they don't feel like in the same way that maybe you're pissed off because you heard that Tide burned some person's skin, so you're like, well, I'm going to go and do this. And it's like, if you actually did your research, you'd find out that it was actually owned by the same company or something, But yeah, I'm a cynic with you on that, Skip. I think that it'll blow over, people forget about it, and back to the same. I mean,
it's the thing, we won't forget about it, and that's
yeah. I mean, the idea of who can you trust, and can you trust anyone anymore? And in this media world, it's hard to know. I'm someone who's read Entertainment Weekly magazine since 1990. That's 18 years.
So who do you trust there?
But when Entertainment Weekly, who's owned by Time Warner, has a cover story on Harry Potter with Harry Potter ads throughout, and they review Harry Potter, do I necessarily know can they give me a really impartial review of Harry Potter? I don't really know. And I think moving forward after this, maybe the gamers out there need to consider where they're getting their information from, and really know what's
That's
going
the
on.
thing, though. I don't think when you're reading Entertainment Weekly's review of Harry Potter, you're not letting that determine whether or not you go see Harry Potter.
But some people, a lot of people are.
But I don't.
Like, people are using that as a metric.
I mean, that helps too, though. I mean, if you look at it that way, if you're looking at it as a review and the criticism that like Schwartzbaum and Owen do in there, it's valid no matter what. If there's a score there or not, it's equally valid.
So when you go to
and even if you completely disagree,
but like when you go to
them,
GameSpot to get a review of Kane and Lynch, and the entire site is like all Kane and Lynch ads, everything is Kane and Lynch ads on that site, and you see the review of a 6.
Mm-hmm. But that's the problem with the enthusiast press that guy like just completely nails out of the park, is that all of our advertising for all of our publications have always been and forever will be primarily game based, because we, the enthusiast press, our audience are enthusiasts. All of their disposable income is already earmarked for buying video games.
Endemic advertising.
It's endemic.
So here's the situation for me: is that instead of it being a parasitic relationship, or instead of it being a negative relationship, it's that I think that the marketing departments view us as a tool. And if we allow that tool to be manipulated by them and controlled by them to do things where it makes their numbers look better, or they can make their game look better, then that's sort of on us, isn't it? If we allow, say right now, we actually don't have a tracking tool. We're working to put one together to be transparent because we need one, because we need to be able to give that data back because that's what publishers want. But if we allow, let me finish.
If you're giving full disclosure, though, I'm saying OneUp is in the gaming publisher realm, we are considered to be below the curve in terms of our scores. We are. Across the board.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we set our average at 5.
We take flack and we get trouble over it being 5, but that's a whole other thing. But and we're probably going to introduce some sort of data delivery system. If we do that, it's up to us not to allow that tool, because again, we're a tool to them, to be manipulated and under their control. We have to make sure that the tool that we are for them is as much a mutual relationship as and not just one-sided, not just them telling us how we're going to work for them expecting to use us in a certain sort of way. We have to keep doing the things, or any outlet, IGN and GameSpot and GameSpy and all these guys.
That's all fine and good for the journalists at this table and at our competitors. But why should anyone believe us? In the wake of this.
You see, that's the problem with losing someone like Gersman at GameSpot. Is the guy has 11 experience.
All it
really
takes is one person to lack integrity.
Well, I mean, and there's a pressure to lack integrity.
But he didn't lack integrity. He stood by his guns.
Not him. This is a competition that we know you get more readers and you attract more attention by being the first to have some information, or by being the only one to have some exclusive information. And you also know that you have increasing access to this information and to the timely delivery of it by pleasing the publishers. All it takes is some sort of soft flexing. I mean, that's an incentive. So if one person cheats in a group, it's like game theory, right? It's like most people aren't going to call bullshit on them, and they're going to reap the benefits from that. And then there's like this threshold. How far do you go? Can we say, because there's so many levels, there's like calling, they didn't say Kane and Lynch was a 10, right? And I'm not saying they did this. Let's go to another game. So hypothetical company didn't say like a game that Metacritic agreed was a 3 and give it a 10. I mean, even in the finer shades, if you're like, hey, it looks like the average is about 7, let's just go 8 and show them we love them, so that it's that much easier to talk to them when the next time comes around. So little things like that too. Instead of looking at these grand conspiracy theories and being so concerned,
it's very slowly moving the goalposts.
Yeah, I mean, there are all these little things, and I mean, yeah, I agree with you. Like, we can sit here and say forever, but this is what everyone's doing. Well, you got to trust us, and that's what was concerning to me, is that
I'm trying
when
not
this
to say
first
that
came
because
out,
I think that's hollow.
Everyone said, well, that's never happened here.
Yeah.
And it's like,
oh, okay.
You know, I mean, even if it hasn't happened, that's different than saying,
hi,
like,
I'm managing editor. Promise you my phone rings.
So, the way we do business is not changing. We've been this way forever.
Let's end that.
I'm not going to end it, but and this kind of pressure, we've experienced it. We've just never caved, ever. But, if you're to believe these allegations, and the GameSpot is changing the way they are approaching reviews with this new guy who came from a Lad Mag background. And if you look at Lad Mags, look at Maxim, they would review games without ever playing them. That's true. They reviewed Ninja Gaiden without ever having played it. Like 5 years ago, I remember that.
Yeah, the game was.
And like people aren't mad with Maxim's game reviews. Like no one yells.
Their audience doesn't care.
Yeah, no one yells at Playboy and Maxim or stuff.
Yeah. They're like, oh, Ninja, cool.
Right, and if that is what GameSpot wants to become now, that more of that kind of a focus to the editorial. Well, they can do that.
They'll have a different reader audience.
And, this could just be like a painful transition time. And in 6 months, when GameSpot's editorial focus is different, then we'll all like, okay, this is what
So
they
let me
become.
come back to what I think is important from what I'm taking away from this, which is knowing the people who you're talking to. And an enthusiast, look, the people who read enthusiast sites, they know all of us. They know you, Shane. They know you, Andrew. They know you, Sean. They know what to expect when they read your reviews, and they knew what to expect from Jeff, which is why losing someone with that amount of portfolio behind him is a problem, because you knew when you read one of Jeff's review where he was coming from. Just like you know if you read one of my reviews where I'm coming from. You know where Shane's coming from if you read one of his reviews. And when that part goes away, that's troubling.
If these allegations are to be believed, you may now understand where GameSpot CNET is coming from their editorial belief.
And you know what? Just so for closing, unfortunately, N-Guy did hit on one part really well, which is that we haven't the faintest non-fatal suggestion how to close Pandora's box. You know what? I don't either. Pandora's box not going to be properly closed. But we'll do the best we can. We'll all do the best we can.
It's a big story.
N-Guy will be there hanging out with us too. So, moving right along, on the tip of big publishers, Activision and Vivendi.
Sunday morning, I wake up and as Mark McDonald's crashing on my couch, and I read the story, and I go up there and like,
What on earth?
I'm like, Activision? Who knew? Like, how often does like nobody know?
Dude.
Like, nobody here knew this was happening, right?
No, not at all.
Nobody knew.
Out of the cold blue.
It still looks weird on paper. Activision Vivendi.
Vivendi.
Activision Blizzard.
Oh, Activision. That's right. It's Activision Blizzard. But I put Vivendi on there because that's the monetary
No, but it's a big deal that like they use the Blizzard name, not the Vivendi name.
Absolutely.
That's a big deal.
Well, Vivendi's been fiddling around with like what name they wanted to use for the past 5 years. Universal Games, blah 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 blah, whatever. They had the war chest from World of Warcraft, which is what this was about, right? This was about finally finding a place to put all that cash.
They found it.
So what do you think? Is there more of these on the way? The Wall Street Journal already ran an article that said that basically this was so. Interestingly enough, the Wall Street Journal in the broader financial market still looks at video gaming as a very immature marketplace and says that this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's going to be even more consolidation.
If you think there's going to be more downsizing.
Ubisoft and EA have been rumored to be
for 2 years.
The big rumors is EA going to buy Ubisoft? Is EA going to buy Take-Two?
That's the one.
And I thought Take-Two, but then I read something interesting today that in 14 months, Rockstar becomes independent from Take-Two.
I read that as well.
What?
I know. It's like a Bungie deal where like they are no longer beholden to Take-Two. So that makes Take-Two not as interesting as an acquisition for them.
What do you mean not as interesting? You mean completely not interesting at all?
Right.
I mean,
what? Dude, Take-Two is on fire right now. And let me
without
quickly
Rockstar.
bullet point this.
I mean,
though.
BioShock, yes.
No,
like,
without yes. Well, not
Really?
only they have Oblivion that they just put out.
That's true.
They followed it up with BioShock.
Okay.
Borderlands, from what I've seen of it, looks like
good.
it can be good, and Fallout, from what I've seen of it, also looks like it could follow in that
2K
tradition.
is definitely on the
and
upswing.
if those happen, that's like sort of like a four-peat of killer games, and just done. Well, I can only speak for the two that are out. Both are done really well. Both are interesting and different from other games. So I'm not
losing Rockstar would be huge, but they wouldn't be like
but it's not like all of a sudden they're like I don't know.
I think the problem facing EA is Activision Blizzard is a huge company. It's also a huge global company, whereas EA is still very much U.S. centric. And they
and the other thing about Activision Blizzard is it has this steady infusion of cash month after month from subscriptions to World of Warcraft, which you cannot argue with.
It's definitely a force to be reckoned with. They're the number one publisher now.
It's not now. It's just the name too, the entity of it. I mean, it's like a Disney. I mean,
yeah.
However, in the Activision Blizzard split, I still kind of give Blizzard like the heads up in terms of power, because Activision, the way they run their business, the way they exploit their yearly franchises, like you always have to wonder, like how long can you do that with each franchise? Like, how long will Tony Hawk go?
So there you go. Now we're going to talk about another big subject here, which is one thing. It's taken Electronic Arts a long time to come to grips with how to manage franchises, and they still don't do it absolutely correctly. I mean, did we really, as much as I was excited, would need another Need for Speed this year?
No.
Did it hurt the franchise some to not really be as innovative as we had all been led to believe that it probably was going to be? And Activision's immediate response in their investor call was, "Oh yeah, we're going to do yearly Tony Hawk and yearly Call of Duty,
yearly Guitar Hero,
Guitar Hero."
I'm hearing 3 to 4 Guitar Hero SKUs a year.
Call of Duty, I feel bad. That makes me wonder if after the success of Call of Duty 4, I don't know, but it makes me wonder if Infinity Ward's going to want to make another project. Because clearly if other studios continue to make the sequels,
making the next one,
right? And I know the sense I got was that I mean, it wasn't just the press, but it was like, hey, I mean, you make something, right? And you want that name to shine. And it's just a matter of fact. If this thing comes out every year and from all these different developers, it's not going to mean the same. And the same as Tony Hawk, I mean, it's not going to, even if that was one developer, it's not going to mean the same thing.
I think IW has proven all that they have to prove with the Call of Duty franchise, and that they'd be anxious.
They can do what they want.
Yeah, and they can do what they want. And they're big on technology, too. So, I mean, they're big on technology. And come on, Call of Duty was the World War II franchise, and they took it someplace else. They did what Medal of Honor hasn't even been able to do.
Well, what really most bums me out about this this new thing is that they're not making Blizzard games for console. I talked to my friend at Blizzard, and they had a big company meeting, and the takeaway was nothing has changed. Get back to work. And I want something to change. I want Blizzard to realize, hey, consoles is a huge untapped potential that we are failing miserably at.
Do they need to succeed at that?
Do they need another gazillion dollars? Yes. Do they need to make people happy? Yes.
Are you going to drop World of Warcraft console on us?
What's funny is I've heard every platform holder has been courting that game hardcore.
I'm sure they have.
Everyone has. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Everyone wants it. No one gets it.
And when
give it to everyone. Why, Blizzard? Don't you like Activision Blizzard? Don't you like money? I know you do. Give it to everyone.
Hey, dude, there was a time when that would have, although on a smaller scale, when that would have seemed like we could have had the same discussion, but insert the EverQuest, right?
Right.
The magic didn't work on consoles.
EverQuest never had 10 million users, dude.
Well, that's what I said, on a smaller scale, but it was nonetheless at the time, and by numbers at the time, it was a profitable.
But if you were in charge, if you were the president of Activision Blizzard, do you see any reason not to put WoW on consoles?
I can see
seriously,
there being some pressure there. The one thing, I don't want to jump to conclusions and all the jokes about, okay, this means we're going to have
World of Warcraft 80s edition.
Because look at
World of Warcraft Skater.
I'm from Games for Windows, the official magazine. So it's like, hey, when that merger happened,
you got to protect your home.
Everyone else was knee jerking, oh, that means that you're going to be doing.
I hear you really love Xbox Live for PC.
All these other things. And
you should see his Vista widgets.
So I guess I'm just saying, I give him the benefit of the doubt. Mergers and coordinated efforts.
Well, I give them the benefit of the doubt, but I think that they're going to have a lot of learning time to get up to speed of running a corporation this big. I mean, again, I go back to the EA example. They are just now really coming into their own, where they seem to be getting down how to run this ginormous publishing empire. And, bringing Riccatello back was such a good move for them, because
I think the Army of Two delay was a really good sign.
Yeah, it's like
it was.
I think it's so much about bringing someone like Riccatello in, getting that gaming culture back, and realizing, even as big as we are, we can still be gaming centric and get back in touch with what made EA right at the beginning. And Activision's.
This just reminded me of a really hot piece of Activision EA gossip I got to talk. So you might get to it in news, but did you hear about?
No, go ahead.
Did you hear about the rumored patch for Rock Band PS3 to allow Guitar Hero 3 guitars to work with it? Is that one of your stories?
That's a news.
Am I skipping ahead?
Is that like the last thing? Klepek handed me that right before I left. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Can we skip to that right now? Because I have a really hot thing to talk about.
Okay, breaking news. Guitar interrupted. Patrick's been busting on this. Andrew, I'm going to give it to you because I didn't get a chance to read it.
I didn't read it either.
Oh, okay. Well, so
I give it back.
Do you have the story?
Well, what I heard is that the Harmonix is hard at work on a patch that will allow Guitar Hero 3 guitars to work with Rock Band PS3.
That's good news.
However, what I heard off the record from sources undisclosed is that meanwhile, Activision is working on a patch that will make Xbox 360 Rock Band not work with Xbox 360 Guitar Hero 3 guitars.
All right. So look, let me just tell you. I'm just reading through this very quickly, but it sounds like this is unfortunately a stupidly contentious argument, because again, we all know that the Harmonix and Red Octane breakup wasn't exactly
right. But yeah, what I'm talking about,
pretty.
I just basically spelled it out. But isn't that insane? If that's true, I mean, it's just a rumor. I'm not saying that's necessarily happening, but I heard that from a source, and if that's true, that's just petty and sad.
That's wow.
Well, so the vice president of business development that would be at Red Octane, that would be Charles Huang, was speaking at length about the confusing consumer issue, and he said, from our standpoint, to be quite honest, if you know a competitor's product has issues, there's not a whole lot of motivation to make those problematic controllers work with your game. Why would you want to cause yourself the headache? Speaking about why would you want the Rock Band controllers to work with Guitar Hero if they're not working well? What the hell is going to happen with this stuff? I mean, obviously...
Can we just all get along? Apparently not.
Apparently we can't all get along. And I think the implications coming out of this is that while it originally looked like Rock Band was an more open platform, I think both of them have
It's like
compatibility issues.
Well, no,
it's like Oasis versus Blur.
It is.
It is Oasis. That's
much,
a good
much
one.
like Blur being the good band, I think Rock Band here is the good guys, and they want everyone to work with everyone, and Activision doesn't want anyone to work with them, much like Liam Gallagher. I'm just saying.
I'm going to leave you to read Patrick's news piece. It's called "Guitar Interrupted: Red Octane on Guitar Hero or on guitar compatibility."
I hope that eventually everything works with everything, but we'll see.
I think you would find that it's much more of a two-way street than you think. How about that? How about that? Okay, so the VGAs. Well, before we get to the VGAs, Grand Theft Auto. We talked about 2K and Rockstar, the new trailer. Okay,
I like the new trailer.
You watched it all?
I watched it.
I like it.
But when I was watching it, and I was like, people are going to scream downgrade total because the graphics are not running at a good frame rate, and like the lighting doesn't look quite as good as what we saw before.
It's reassuring,
but it looks like a real game.
It looks like Grand Theft Auto.
It's a real game.
It looks like Grand Theft Auto's aesthetic.
It
looks like Grand Theft Auto's approach. Every single thing they've done Grand Theft Auto, it looks like that.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. People were expecting like this huge, like 60 frames per second, entirely open world. No, it's Grand Theft Auto. They're going to make the sacrifices they've been making for their 3 games, and people are going to love it.
Grand Theft Auto's presentation is always better, sort of, than the sum of its graphics. In the same way that this video, what really worked in the video is that the way that the music was edited in, the way that the characters, the voice acting was good. I mean, there's really no gameplay in the trailer. It's just a bunch of people talking, but it's so well done.
There are short snippets of gunplay and
it's the driving
and fisticuffs.
Yes, but not from natural perspectives that you play the games in and stuff.
That's
so far as that, you don't know. It's not like you can guarantee you're looking at AI and all those important things.
First of all, Nico is starting to look kind of cool.
I always thought he was a cool-ish character.
Well, actually, in this whole trailer, I thought like the character art looked a little more stylized than I'd seen. It looked cool. I liked it. I like the art.
I think the character art is definitely an upgrade.
That was takeaway number 1. Takeaway number 2 for me was that, especially you were talking about the fisticuffs. It looked like the hand-to-hand fighting.
There was kicking and punching.
And there was there was some blocking, and so it seemed like definitely an upgrade. Hopefully.
There's something about using fisticuffs though. In that, without any irony, that's just one of those things kids on the internet will type. Fisticuffs. It's like people fighting. You're just talking about people fighting.
Yeah,
when they engaged in about a fisticuff.
Pugilism.
Hey, Sean Elliott, don't try to throw away our good words. All right, expanded vocabulary is nothing to be ashamed of on your message boards.
The hand-to-hand fighting part looked cool. I mean, look, that's something they could definitely use an upgrade on. The hand-to-hand fighting and previous Grand Thefts.
Aiming, gunplay, aiming,
combat in general.
So
we need to see that, the first playable impressions of it. That's the linchpin for me.
That's a quick save. Put a quick save on that shit.
Yeah.
But I thought this trailer was good in the making me realize, okay, it's a real game. It's really coming out. Maybe it doesn't run at 30 frames a second, but
it's going to be something we're all familiar and comfortable with.
That's it. Like you saw lots of hints of stuff that you've done before, like hijacking police boats. Oh wow, you get to steal boats. I'm going to be driving boats.
There's a helicopter, but I heard you couldn't actually drive helicopters.
Oh come on, there's going to be helicopters, there's going to be planes, there's going to be all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was still up in the air, haha. But I thought that was still
someone
confirmed.
will get an exclusive preview on that.
Yeah,
and then
someone will have a helicopter cover.
Cover.
All right. Speaking of, now we're getting completely cynical. No better way to segue from cynicism to complete cynicism than the VGAs.
Do we really need to? It's like we talk about this every year.
We
always have the same conversation. Why are they doing this?
I went to the VGA Awards last year live, and it was a great after party. This year,
and that's what they're good for.
This year, I opted not to go because Natsume's Christmas party is more fun.
So you're up for the sushi.
What do you have to do to get invited to that in the first place, though?
Spike Awards?
I think you just have to get an email.
I just wanted to get invited to Natsume's.
You want my invite?
You want to come?
No.
Yeah. Seriously, tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
It's the best party you should come.
All right, so here's the deal with the VGAs. They're going to air on Sunday. They're recording tomorrow night. So here's the funny thing about it. The advisory council, if you look on Spike's page, is actually made up of a bunch of legitimate video game journalists, right? So
actually, Shu was on it, and he
Shu's on it. Sam's on it.
I helped Shu with his nominations, and the nominations turned out better this year than years previous.
Oh, this makes me wonder.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because in the same way that there's the E3 Judges Awards, how, and they'll send presents out to the judges. It makes me wonder if they're doing it for this.
I don't know, but let me tell you what. Something's completely screwed up when 3 of the 4 Game of the Year nominees are 360 exclusives.
Yeah, the Game of the Year
category. The other one is also best on 360, and there's no freaking Mario.
Yeah, the Game of the Year is retarded, and it doesn't make any sense.
But yeah, your choices when you were voting for Game of the Year were BioShock, Halo 3, Mass Effect, and Orange Box. Oh, by the way, that's also the exact same list as what you could choose from for your 360 Game of the Year.
Right, and
The hell?
Mario Galaxy is nominated in other categories, so it wasn't ineligible. You know,
That's just dumb.
The whole thing is dumb. Why are we talking about this?
Because
I feel like John.
Because it matters. Because it matters that it's so dumb.
It doesn't really matter.
It matters that it's so dumb and it gets mainstream.
The same people are going to watch it as they watched last year because Tila Tequila from that stupid show is going to be a presenter.
And you know what? Last year Oblivion won Game of the Year, and it wasn't Game of the Year. So there you go. So
what's going to win? What's going to win Game of the Year out of this group?
Halo 3, because I also bet Halo 3 wins the most addictive game fueled by Mountain Dew award. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think Halo 3 wins that one? Really? Luke Smith, you voting for that one?
Are you insinuating that the
that.
Mountain Dew advertising campaign might have something to do with Master Chief's award take?
Just saying.
All right.
Garnet, are you really taking this that seriously?
No, I'm trying to get us to talk about the screwed up inability of our group to have.
But it's not our group. They solicit us. They put us on the panels, but it's not our group.
Hey, remember
you and I were talking about this at lunch, Andrew. So that's the conversation I was trying to get to. Is how the hell do we ever make a legitimate awards?
We do it on the internet where ratings aren't a matter.
The BAFTA Game Awards aren't bad.
Okay, well, what makes the BAFTA Game Awards not bad?
Because BAFTA is like the Oscars there, so they just did a separate thing for games.
What are the DICE Awards like? I've never
DICE
been.
Awards they're pretty good. They're among the best I've seen. Actually,
yeah,
they're pretty good,
but we're never
not great.
We're never gonna have a media savvy award show. It just doesn't work. We don't have the people.
No.
It's not people based.
No.
So why do we keep trying?
But the people aren't supposed to be the spotlight anyway.
We want our industry to be able to be validated by these kind of award shows, but it just hasn't happened yet.
But every time we look for validation, we point to other media. We bring in stars of we bring in third-rate stars of crappy reality shows on cable.
It's true, but I think in the last 5 years we have made strides. We're making progress. We're just not.
Tila Tequila is fucking progress? Are you shitting me?
Hey,
all right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Coming up in early 08, we're going to be excited because we'll get to finally have user feedback on Devil May Cry 4.
I'll have some feedback for that in about 2 days.
I know, right? So as you're listening to this, you've probably seen a bunch of new images out there on the big world of the internet today. Let me tell you, you guys have a lot to look forward to. The demo that's coming in early 08, it's going to be on both Live and PlayStation Network, is going to be pretty fantastic, and you'll know why we've been excited about it. And wrapping up the news section today, our good friend Itagaki.
Yeah, I've got something after this.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So you have something after this. So the end of what I have is Itagaki actually charges dismissed.
Congratulations, Tomonobu.
He's free of the sexual harassment charges, and the Tokyo District Court has determined that he is completely innocent. So what do you think about that, Shane? I know you were down on him. You were.
I've never been down.
None of us are really well versed in the Japanese legal system. So comments of any nature at this point.
He's never molested.
He's been cleared in a court of law.
He's never molested me other than trying to choke me.
So after the allegations became public, Tecmo revealed that they had conducted a month-long investigation in the matter. At the time, Tecmo admitted that others involved in the situation had mixed personal affairs with their corporate responsibilities.
We'll leave it at that.
So Itagaki has put the whole matter behind him, and he wants to focus.
If the condom doesn't fit, you must acquit.
All right, so there you go. All right, and wrapping up news is Mr. Shane Bettenhausen.
I got a special coda here about, it's not exactly game related, but it's a related field, which is the HD movie war, the Blu-ray versus HD-DVD battle. Which,
in other words, if you can't support your console with games, do it with movies.
Which rages on. The week of Black Friday was the week that Walmart had his HD-DVD drive on sale for $99.99.
I remember seeing that.
Sold out, great sales. However, that week, Blu-ray discs actually outsold HD-DVD discs 3-1. And this week, Michael Bay, the director of Transformers and other great films such as
The Island,
The Rock, was he the Rock? Yeah,
The Island,
Armageddon.
The Island.
On his official website, he had some new words to say. A few months ago, he came out against when Transformers was revealed to be exclusive to HD-DVD after Paramount did the deal to be exclusive. He was very pissed off, and he was all upset. He's like, I want Transformers to come out on Blu-ray. But then he recanted and said, oh no, 300 is really awesome on HD-DVD. But then to this week on his official website, he says, quote, What you don't understand is the corporate politics. Microsoft wants both formats to fail so they can be heroes and make the world move to digital downloads. This is the dirty secret that no one is talking about. That is why Microsoft is handing out $100 million checks to studios just to embrace HD-DVD and not the leading and superior Blu-ray format. They want confusion in the market until they perfect the digital downloads. Time will tell, and you will see the truth.
They're sabotaging themselves?
Well, they're sabotaging
the whole thing by sacrificing some money.
Right, to ride it out and win. And this is Michael Bay, and he's got tons of press, okay? Tons and tons and tons of press.
Are you kidding me? Do you not think that digital download is the future anyway?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
I mean, but we're not there yet. And, like, people don't have the internet speeds or the storage to, like, be downloading HD movies day to day. Like, on your Xbox 360, seriously, how many can you even save? All right? So that's a big deal, and it's bad press for Microsoft. It's not normal you have like a famous director coming out and saying that.
By the way, you don't save them when you buy them through Live. You just watch them. It's like a rental, and then they go away.
Okay, but that's a big.
Just saying.
But that's a big deal, and everybody's up in arms about it. And this week also, another source, Screen Digest, did a survey, and they found.
Wow, one up yours, the new movie tip.
They found that as successful as HD seems, it actually isn't doing that well. In the second year of DVD, the average person who owns a DVD player is buying 8.9 DVDs each. The average owner of Blu-ray and HD-DVD are buying an average of 3.6 movies.
Both. Reality, neither...
And the average PlayStation 3 owner is only buying one movie a year.
Yeah, neither HD format's doing well.
Yeah. So the idea is that, like, right now, people who have the formats aren't buying enough discs. However, by the end of this year, Screen Digest says that worldwide, Blu-ray will have an 8-to-1 overall advantage in terms of installed players.
Really?
Really.
Interesting.
However, they do predict that HD-DVD will remain a valid format through 2010 because of how many discs are currently out there. And,
all right,
and this whole thing is just getting kind of crazy.
Yeah, it already passed crazy.
But what's weird is...
Do you have a summation for us?
Well, you know, it continues to be weird, but where Microsoft falls in this, I mean, like back in 2005, we have Bill Gates coming out and saying that Blu-ray is anti-consumer because of its protection scheme. And he goes on to quote, "We believe that this is the last physical format there will ever be. Everything is going to be streamed directly onto a hard disk. So in this way, it's even unclear how much this format counts." That's Bill Gates quoting in 2005. So that's Bill Gates. And Garnet's falling asleep here. But like that does lead credence to the belief that Microsoft is prolonging this war by giving money to studios. It's widely reported they gave $150 million to Paramount.
I have a summation.
For an 18-month window of exclusivity.
Garnet, your summation. Format wars are stupid.
Yeah.
So dumb.
It's because it's like
so dumb.
I mean, it's like, I guess it's loosely tied to
right. I mean, format
PS3. I mean, PS3 and 360. But it's like I know that the movie player didn't figure into my decision making in any way, shape, or form.
Right. But like, how do you feel about Michael Bay's accusations that Microsoft is spending huge amounts of money only to prolong the war and be anti-consumer?
It logically makes sense.
I don't know. People love to throw stones at Microsoft. Who knows what the hell they're trying to support? They're either trying to support HD DVD or downloads or Media Center or IPTV.
I mean, you know, Microsoft has a master plan somewhere.
Right.
Probably.
Right. And we have Bill Gates quoted here saying like what his master plan kind of is, and then we have the money they're giving, and like everyone just easy to like say, "Oh, Michael Bay, you're crazy," but like,
what's the context of that quote too? Though I mean, that's important.
What's the downside? You know what?
It's on his blog. He just kind of posted it.
If I can get to a
that's
point,
all it was. It wasn't
there's
a greater discussion about the plans for.
I mean, I think Michael Bay is still upset because Transformers HD-DVD didn't sell what people thought it would, and he feels he could have had more sales had a Blu-ray version come out because Blu-ray is selling so much better than HD-DVD in terms of movies.
Whatever, you guys may be pissed. At the end of the day, I want to be able to watch an HD output on my flat panel, and I could give a shit whether it comes from Blu-ray, HD DVD, or digital download.
Well, and Microsoft also just lowered the price of the HD DVD add-on this week.
Yep.
So I mean, there's lots of this is going on, and people just kind of want to shut up and not talk about it, but it really is happening. And if what Michael Bay is saying is true, and Microsoft is just prolonging this war, why aren't people more upset about it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe someone will be upset about it and they can chime into it on boards.oneup.com, which is where you can always reach us week in and week out. We'll be there watching for your comments on this show. We'll also be looking for what you want to hear about the rest of the year. We'll be doing some year-end wrap-up shows, so it's time to start telling us what you want us to get into on that. We'll have a regular show for you next week. The week after that, we'll have a special guest on. That would be Mr. Jeff Kanata from the Totally Rad Show. If you haven't watched it, it's a...
I like rad.
If you haven't watched a Totally Rad Show, you should totally check it out.
Those are funny guys.
Do you know them?
No, I just saw them.
Yeah,
I just saw that one thing in your office.
So they're very good. They're on Revision 3, which does a whole bunch of video stuff. That's Kevin Rose's startup for video. So if you haven't checked that out, he's going to be on December the... What is that? The 7th?
I don't know. What's tomorrow plus 7?
Yeah, week after... No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks after that. So there you go.
Christmas time.
Until next week, that's Andrew Pfister you just heard. Sean Elliott has joined us today. Shane Bettenhausen. This is Garnet Lee. Thank you very much for listening. We'll catch you next week. Until then, we're out.
This OneUp podcast is brought to you by the Laptop Experts, makers of the Toshiba Satellite X205, a laptop with enough power to destroy a small planet. Visit www.toshiba.com/expert.